Okay, here
If
we
you're
go.
comfortable with that.
Yeah, no, I think it's going now.
Are we supposed to go for 45 minutes or I don't
I
know?
didn't really get much information, so I don't know. What was that? What they told you?
I have no idea. Maybe that's for a different Zoom meeting. But
Yeah, you've got like a
anyway,
few big business plans lined up.
VanCAF. VanCAF. Yeah.
Virtual VanCAF,
It's Cyber VanCAF. Here we are.
CyberCAF.
So you're Sami Alwani.
Hello, and
And
you're
I'm
Simon Hanselman, the great
Simon
Simon
Hanselmann.
Hanselman.
Ah,
Hello, everybody, viewers at home. It's funny because this is like not a live broadcast, so we're doing this assuming somebody's going to see it later.
yeah, it's a bit strange. I feel like we should have
Yeah.
rehearsed or something, but we've just jumped into it. But
Yeah.
yeah, how you doing?
I'm okay. I mean, like that's like been a weird question, I guess, lately.
Yeah,
I'm doing okay. I'm holding it together. How are you?
still alive.
I'm alive. I have a house. I'm
Yeah,
able to stay in my house. So all things considered, I'm in a good spot. Yeah.
yeah. Currently ambulatory. I'm moving around, but don't
Yeah.
really
That's
go
good.
anywhere. Not allowed to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surviving. I mean, I'm just still working. I mean, so when this first hit, so many cartoonists made the joke of like, "Oh, I've been practicing for this for
I
years."
know. Yeah.
And
I
then a
was
lot of
making
people
that
came in
joke.
saying, "Fuck off."
Yeah, I was making that joke for a couple weeks, and then like a couple weeks into it, I was like, "Oh, actually, like this has totally like destroyed my life.
Yeah,
This is not like what it was like before."
yeah, no, it's a bit strange, but no, but I
Yeah.
mean, I have been working from home. I mean, I've continued to work from home. I mean, my day to day isn't that different. It's just terrifying when I leave the house and go to the supermarket
Yeah.
instead of
Well, and
getting.
even it's like I probably spent like 80% of my time at home before, but that extra 20% outside was like more valuable than you realize until it's gone, I guess.
I do miss going to dinner with friends and like smoking cigarettes together out in the alleyways. And
Yeah, it's been a adjustment. Yeah,
you
I literally couldn't go outside for a while at all, like not even for groceries and stuff. So I've just been in the house. Yeah.
you were just like paranoid.
No, I like probably had the virus basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
tore through me.
Oh, you think so?
In like mid-February, there was a couple of days where I was just like fucked. Like I,
Because Seattle was one of the hotspots, so it must have been there for a while before everything went on lockdown, right?
it's probably Gary Groth's fault. I mean, that's public
Yeah.
knowledge now. He came out and said that, but obviously I knew that from years. I was like, I bet fucking Gary gave me fucking COVID. Like,
Yeah, I mean that's been the talk on all the like the red pill Reddits for a while. Is like Gary Groth is like the prime suspect. Bill Gates.
patient zero. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it ran through me. So, leaving the house, I'm always masked and gloved up and don't want to
Yeah,
pass it to the community. But yeah, I'm
yeah,
pretty sure, that same week, my wife was like all dizzy, like called up from work, like, oh, I'm all dizzy, like, oh, fuck. And so I think we both,
yeah. That's what it was like. I was like at work one day before the lockdown started, and it kind of felt like that I don't know if you've seen Ghost in the Shell. There's this one scene where it's zooming in on her face on the boat, and the background is zooming out at the same time. That's kind of like the vibe it was. And then I was like, oh shit, like, do I have COVID? So,
yeah, I
yeah.
think we did. I'm surprised it didn't kill me. I'm such a heavy smoker and I eat like
That's
shit.
what, yeah, I've stopped. Like, I smoke weed like multiple times a day, and now I'm completely switched to edibles, basically. So,
Good. I'm a
it's not,
cigarette smoker. I'm still puffing away
yeah,
all day. I just
fair
pound
enough.
down a bunch of cigarettes. But
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I think I survived it. But second wave.
Yeah, we're good. Now we can just wait it out, I guess.
But yeah, but comics. I've still been
Comics,
enjoying.
yeah, we're supposed to be talking about comics, sir.
I suppose it's not Corona Fest. It's VanCAF,
Yeah.
Vancouver Coronavirus Survivors Meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you're still working. You've been putting up some web stuff, about the.
yeah. Well, I mean, I was hearing you talk. I was kind of on the same vibe where I wasn't really feeling like the work I was making before. Like the story that I was in the middle of drawing when everything started happening was about like all of the romantic stuff in my life and all the sex I'm having and all the partners and I just like completely stopped feeling sexy at all as soon as this hit. And I was like, I kind of just want to focus on something that's a little more immediate and maybe not so much pressure, I guess. So
Yeah.
I've been doing a little bit of that. I mean, like I'm trying to finish up a few stories for this book I'm hoping to have ready by the end of the year. So I'm thinking that the stuff I'm putting up on Instagram lately might go into that too. So we'll see.
So you are still working on non-COVID material.
Yeah, it's been like I've been sick for a while and it's not going away. So whenever I work more than like 4 or 5 hours, I start to go downhill. So I'm kind of pacing myself. But yeah, I am still working on a few. I like I said, I'm trying to pick the stories. I had like 5 or 6 scripts lined up, and a few of them are about, dystopic, anti-capitalist messages. So I was like, well, this still seems like it'll be relevant in the new world. So, so that,
Yeah, I was about to start writing like Meg's Coven, my big, next proper Meg and Mog book, but it just felt false. It just instantly felt like the old world and just not contemporary. And
yeah.
I had a bunch of travel coming up. I was supposed to go to Fumetto in Switzerland and fucking Spain, but so I was watching all this travel shit as it was starting to brew in like February. I was like, hang on, like I was starting to talk to these festivals and say like, I don't think this is going to happen. And they were like,
Yeah, you were on the wave pretty early. Like you caught it.
yeah.
Yeah, you caught what was going on before a lot of people.
Yeah, I kind of suspected this is what was going to happen. I was like, oh, okay, we're all going to go into lockdown and like these festivals going to get shut down. And everyone thought I was a crackpot, at these festivals. But I was right. I wish I wasn't right. But yeah, I started doing the COVID work and I can't stop now.
It's going really well. Like you got like pretty much a book going right now.
That's why I can't stop. It's because like one of them last week got like 900 comments, like just insane engagement. And like if I've taken 3 days off in the past like 55 days, I've only taken that many days off, and I get all these messages like, "Oh no, I rely on this," and like, "Oh fuck."
That's what I've been seeing, is that you're actually like a lot of people's only link to their sanity and mental health right now.
Yeah, people keep saying that, and it is
big
kind
responsibility.
of mental health. Because I feel like I can't take a break. I want to read a fucking book. I got books over here.
I started reading a 900-page book like this week. It's great. I'm enjoying it.
Lucky motherfucker.
The burden of your...
Yeah, it was supposed to be for me a 30-page zine. I was like, I'll do 30 of these for a month, and then everything will blow over and we're back to normal. Like, I'll put the zine out. But now it's basically just turning into a fucking book project, and it's all I can focus on.
Well, it's going to be great. My secret fear, like my one thing that I'm really worried that you're planning to kill Owl.
A lot of people are.
He's my favorite character, and he's been through so much, so I'm like very nervous about it, especially with the last couple.
Yeah. I like the comments. A lot of people have been saying it's like a telenovela, which I really love.
Yeah, it is kind of. Yeah, it's like
it's all peaks and valleys and cliffhangers, and so yeah, I've noticed a lot of people scared that Al is going to die. I don't want to confirm or not confirm. But yeah, I've written down a plan now. It was all just winging it, but now I kind of like, okay, like I think I got a few weeks of threads planned. And
right, yeah. I mean, with the writing processes, I like to switch it up a lot, and once in a while, I'll do something completely improvised. But it's hard to stay improvised once you run long enough, because you're working on one panel, and then you're kind of like thinking ahead about what could possibly happen. So once you're 50 chapters in, I'd imagine you kind of have some ideas about.
Yeah, it's been a lot of aborted threads and stuff, things that were going to happen, but it's been shifted or cut. And, there was the whole thing like last week with like one of Will Jones's sons was going to jump off the roof, and like that wasn't planned. Like I was going to do something completely different, and then that just happened. And an owl flying like that. Well, I thought of that like, a day before I did it, and it's like something else was going to happen. And so I don't know. It's interesting to work within the parameters of 10 panels for me. And
right.
I used to do Meg and Mog for Vice, and I'd see the comic on there.
I would really look forward to that too, actually. Like when I was drawing The Dead Father, I kind of was planned like to take a break, like right when your stuff went up usually. Was it on a Wednesday or something? I can't remember.
I can't remember, it was years ago.
Anyways, yeah.
I forgot you're on Vice as well. A bunch of Vice scumbags.
Yeah, it's all gone. Vice Comics is gone now. I'm so bummed about it.
Yeah, I think they fired Nick Gazin. And
yeah.
But yeah, it was a good
He was still
venue for a
doing
while.
well. Hmm?
A good venue for a while, you know.
Well, and a lot of people like got a good foothold through it. Like there was Margot's stuff kind of got some traction. Tara Booth was there.
High Fish, of course.
Anya as well.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people kind of got pretty big and then went on their
Yeah.
caught the tail end of it. I was like popped in near the last blast.
Yeah, it was a good time. People give Nick a lot of shit, but I think he really got a lot of people work there, like in the absence
Yeah.
of alt weeklies and any other avenue to put alternative webcomics up. Like he really
That's
got.
the thing. It's like since it went down, I'm like, oh, there must be some alternative where I can find that kind of venue. And there really aren't that many out there right now.
Yeah, I think Adult Swim runs a bit of stuff, and there's regularly like, but the other, I don't know. It's nice that maybe does something occasionally, but it's tough.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like that Vice gig got me off government benefits. Like I was on
Nice.
Australian
It was
government.
like, well, for a lot of cartoonists, I think it was like just a steady paycheck, which is not that common basically at this point. And then they weren't really they don't seem too worried about like republishing the stuff somewhere else. So you could kind of get that income stream from multiple sources basically.
It was tough to get paid sometimes. I remember once that I was like, I need the money. Like I was on unemployment before this. Like they're like, oh well, the person who does the payments has gone on a holiday for a month, and like, and I was like, well, you can't hire someone else.
For a month.
They're valued at like $1 billion, and Rupert Murdoch was a co-owner. It's like you can't.
They're owned by they're partially owned by Disney, aren't they now?
I think so.
Yeah,
Disney owns everything. Disney owns me now.
yeah. Yeah, as soon as you installed Zoom on your computer, Disney like gained the rights to all your work basically.
Yeah, probably. I shouldn't have. I should have read the fine print.
Yeah.
Yeah, God. But yeah, I didn't enjoy doing the Vice serialization. I did the Amsterdam Megan Mogg story on Vice, and I didn't like the serialization, like doing a short chunk that had to build up to a greater whole, like a singular entry that also, yeah, it was rough. But I'm enjoying this new way because I think it's because no one else is involved. It's just me. I can stop anytime I want. There's no pressure. I'm not getting paid for it.
Yeah.
So it's just for the love of it. And I don't know, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying this 10-panel limitation. And
It's nice to get the immediate response too. It kind of feels a little gratifying to see your work like immediately kind of connect with people.
Yeah, I feel like I'm making a TV show, and people, it's all those comments like, "Oh, we love it, and don't stop, or we'll kill you," and like, yeah, and I don't know. I feel like I'm kicking ass with it as well. Like
Yeah,
Flowers,
you did great.
and you and a bunch of other people are doing a bit of Corona content, but no one's kept up with it every day.
No, you're kind of making us all look bad. You're getting a lot of content out.
Trying to be the preeminent #1 Corona chronicler, full-time journalist. So,
well, this is a question I thought could be handy in this format because I've been meaning to ask you for a while. Like, how does your body survive the ravages of constant cartooning?
yeah, I have no idea.
What's that?
I have no idea. I'm sitting on a cushion with my legs crossed on the floor. I'm 38 years old. I'm at a $10 low IKEA table.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes my shoulder acts up, but
yeah.
I used to hear like Lane Milburn used to like fist a big bucket of ice water.
Oh, okay.
Getting like tendonitis or something, and like fist the ice bucket to cool
That's been my biggest problem. Yeah, I have to, near the end of when I was putting together the last thing I was doing, I kind of had to keep doing these exercises like every other panel that I was inking because it would just get like debilitating basically. Yeah. When you're, I don't know how many hours you're putting in on these, but when you're working like 12 hours a day, it's just like, yeah.
It's nice right now because I'm just kind of like, I work, my wife's working from home. So, she starts working from 9 till 5, 9 till 6 she works. So I still work the same hours.
Real person schedule.
I'm actually taking nights off, which is quite nice.
Great.
But yeah, I'm drawing all day. I mean, I do a whole, page a day, but yeah, I don't know. Sometimes my finger gets sore, like I got a big callus there. I'm not flipping.
Yeah, I always feel like that's a mark of honor when the callus gets thicker and thicker. Yeah.
I got really frustrated once. My friend Michael Hawkins from Australia, we were all like doing this art show and we're comparing our calluses, and his
Yeah.
was fucking huge. And I was like, I know for a fact I've been working twice the hours you have. Why do you have such a big
If he
callus?
has a biological advantage, it's not to do with the hours involved. He's just naturally callus producing cartoonist.
I think he just has lusciously soft skin, so it
Maybe
really
he's like just fooling everybody. He gets like a nail file and
getting like Botox injections in there.
just to prove it.
Getting fillers. Fucking hell. Yeah, no, sometimes I wrap my finger in a brush and a bandage or something. Like it just starts cutting in. And just so, if I wrap my hand or brush in a soft, cotton-lined bandage,
gauze or something,
that makes it tolerable.
Cool.
But again, it feels like a badge of honor. It feels like, oh, I'm working so hard. It's like, fuck yeah.
Yeah,
which is that's frowned upon sometimes. A lot of people are like, that's an unhealthy mindset. And it kind of is. It does feel really unhealthy and punishing sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's a question of priorities. It's just like, if this is the most important thing in your life, right? Which is like, feels like for me most of the time. It's, well, what else am I sacrificing to put the time and the energy and the health into this? It's like, much else, right?
For me, it's the artistic lust, and also like it's a gig. Like I have to make money to fucking feed my family, and like take care of my mother. So it's
you have
like,
rabbits. Like you have rabbits. To feed.
7 rabbits are always getting sick and need medicine. So I can't just sit around masturbating, eating biscuits all day and watching Netflix. I'd love to, but I can't. Yeah, I've like I was saying, I've been enjoying the nights off. It's it's nice to not have to like, nice for my partner as well to like take the time off and not like I have to keep working. I've got deadlines. Like it's not a way to live, really. Constant self-abuse and self-flagellation. More.
Yeah, I'm trying to come to terms with that. For me, it's like a cycle of like overwork and burnout. I wish I could do like 8 hours every day, but it seems to be like I'll do like 12, 16-hour days for like a month, and then I'll have to take like a week off or 2 weeks off just to convalesce. Yeah.
For me, it's the fluidity as well. Like the more I work, the easier it is. Like you just get a line confidence and just.
Yeah, I think a lot about that momentum. And it's not even just the drawing aspect. It's kind of like your sense of the narrative as well, and your storytelling ability, and like your compositional, everything you're doing kind of like melds a little bit better. You stop thinking about things consciously so much because a lot of it's just like ingrained in you, I guess.
I think it's like sport. Like it's just like training and just, being, training season, just being in, the right shape to do the duty that you have to do. Like you can't just like sit around eating KFC and wanking and then run out on the football field and kick a fucking goal. You gotta do your stretches and make sure your aim's good and everything's aligned.
My roommate was kind of making fun of me one time when he stumbled upon I do these perspective drafting exercises sometimes where I'm just like freehand drawing straight lines. So I'll have pages and pages on the kitchen table of just straight lines in different directions and lining up at different points. He's like, "What are you doing?"
Are you okay, Sammy? Are you okay?
It's like my geometric abstraction phase.
You're writing like a manifesto next. I'm looking on your back wall for like all like red strings.
I have my clip matrix.
Yeah, are you okay, Sammy?
Yeah.
You've got a roommate there. You've got a flatmate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's good.
I'm not completely alone. That would be hell, probably.
Yeah, I can't imagine being completely alone during this time.
Yeah, I have a few friends who are, and I get worried about them, but...
Yeah, I think we've all got friends we're worried about right now.
Yeah, basically.
Fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel so sheltered from it, and so like such a privileged bastard in a way. I'm just, I draw my funny books all day.
I think like the best response that you could have to feeling like you're in a place of privilege is like to do exactly what you're doing, which is like help thousands of people feel better about themselves.
I mean, I guess it's a public service. It's a pretty wussy one. Privately behind the scenes, I've like flipped some money at people and tried to support, artists that are like, we're doing it tough, like, but
yeah.
Private donor.
I don't know.
Just fucking weird time. I can't imagine getting back to just writing my,
Your Meg 7?
family boohoo book. Yeah, like.
Well, that's the thing, is like it's hard to know what's going to be relevant later. It's like if nobody's, if the world completely changes and the way we interact with each other changes, like who's going to want to read my polyamory like sex comic? Like,
Yeah, that's the old world. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like everybody's just going to be annoyed.
well, people really enjoy it as a bit of escapism. It really warmed my heart earlier today. I looked at the AV Club and they said that CBS has renewed Young Sheldon for another season. I was like, oh my God, like, thank God the world moves on.
Normalcy returns.
So yeah, and the Amazing Race got picked up for another season. Like,
oh wow,
I
I don't see that working so well. I feel like they're gonna have to make some accommodations.
I mean, it's just going to be set just in Georgia or something, like Amazing Race Georgia, and they just like go to a few different locations in Georgia.
Yeah, they go to the tattoo parlor and the hair salon and, and the bowling alley. That's where Amazing Race will be set.
They can't be off to like Iceland, Botswana, Galapagos Islands. Like they can't be doing that. A bunch of them, but they will. I guess a bunch of Americans in like MAGA hats will be flying all over the world. It's like doing challenges.
Yeah,
like,
they're only going to get ultra conservative MAGA people to be able to. Very.
They're the only people that'll go on. They're the only people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Stupid enough to do the Amazing Race. Oh Jesus. Yeah, no, it's been like 2 months now. It's really weird. I should be in Mallorca right now. I think I'm supposed to be on like a Spanish island in a villa. Like,
yeah.
I'm not. I like being at home. Those trips are stressful because I have to leave my rabbits and my wife. So it's
right.
Again, that's another reason I feel guilty. Like, oh, I'm so glad to be home. Like, oh, I love being home.
Yeah. I don't know. I think a lot of people are kind of feeling that way. There's so much. I feel like the world's just built for extroverts most of the time. This is the time that we've actually like developed skills on entertaining ourselves and feeling okay in isolation. And now, everybody's kind of like, a few people I know, my roommate for one, are people who are used to spending 90% of their time outside with in crowded spaces. And it's like, I'm definitely having an easier time coping with that part of things. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to H2L Flowers, who's also a guest at VanCAF fans. But, he's got cystic fibrosis. He lives in Australia.
Right.
So we're always Skyping and stuff. And it's not the same as a real friendship and getting drunk together and, whatever.
Right.
But I realized with this happening, like I said to Grant, like this is what everyone has to do now. Like we don't have to feel sad about just Skyping all the time because this is literally the world now.
You're gonna have to Skype with the person down the street because you're not gonna be able to go to their house, basically. Yeah.
This is friendship now. So
it's actually been funny because I've been able to connect with a lot of people that I haven't heard from in ages because now everybody's the same distance away, basically.
Yeah. So swings and roundabouts, ups and downs.
Yeah,
it's a shame about VanCAF because Grant was going to come to VanCAF. I'd seen him.
You guys would have gotten to hang out.
Yeah, we're going to hang out, but
yeah.
I mean, not now.
Yeah,
be a bit dangerous. Were you going to go to VanCAF? Corporeal fashion.
No, I wasn't. I hadn't had any plans. Actually, like I was doing a lot of festivals the last like few years, and I found it was just like. It was really fun and I was enjoying it, but it was taking a decent amount of time away from studio. So I had this deadline for the end of the year and I kind of just wanted to take a break. I didn't even apply for TCAF this year, actually.
Yeah.
So canceled. So it worked out in that way, I guess.
Yeah, it's like I was saying, like with the travel, it's great, but also, you're away from the studio and it's just,
it's like a
body to travel.
That momentum kind of, jostled.
Like I'm a well-known cartoonist. Like my books sell okay, but I can go to Cake or something and lose money. Like there's no guarantee.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's almost like you're just paying for the publicity and to be able to make some connections with people and like to your audience and stuff. Yeah,
it's very bourgeoisie, this sort of pay-to-play economy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's nice because I have a lot of friends in New York. Like I went to school in Baltimore, so I know a lot of people who ended up there. So it's kind of like a paid vacation. I can break even to go and hang out with my friends while I'm there, basically.
Yeah, I'm happy if I break even, and
Yeah.
I don't get too concerned about the whole festival economy and getting angry at people. I used to do flea markets when I was a kid. My mother and I would like sell shit at flea markets, and
Oh,
you
that's
hold
awesome.
a table and you sell your shit. So
Yeah.
I'm used to that model of like, you can't just turn. Someone's got to fucking pay for it. Like,
Yeah.
you can't just turn up and expect a fucking free table. Like, it's just the way the world works. It's the bartering system. I'll
Yeah.
give you a leather purse for some of your wheat.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting how that plays out in comics world because it is like kind of a barrier for entry for a lot of people. It's basically like, I didn't grow up in like an affluent environment or anything, but obviously to, engage in the comics lifestyle, you can't be destitute, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a bougie thing. It's like
Yeah.
it's funny books. It's a luxury item. Like, if
Yeah.
you've got time to sit around drawing wanky fucking self autobio comics or whatever, then you're obviously in a position of somewhat comfort and.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But you can make art in any way. Like there was this amazing like homeless street artist in Melbourne that Grant and I are obsessed with, who draw these amazing like chalk drawings. We're always flipping him money and stuff, and we'd buy drawings from him. And for years, he was a fixture. He was always doing this, and
Very cool.
he was just fucking making art. Like,
Yeah.
and that's what's beautiful about comics. That's what I love. Is like there are barriers to the professional bullshit, but to just
I mean,
making work. It's like Henry
yeah.
Darger. He's just
If you compare it to something like the fine art world, where basically to get some representation in an audience, you have to get a master's of fine art, which costs like if you're in the States, that's like $300,000.
Yeah. And it's a lot of like
it's not like a huge barrier. It's like a smaller barrier.
Canvases are expensive and stuff, and all the
Oil paints, like I've switched mostly to gouache. I was really into oil for a long time, like this painting as well. And like one tube of like a cobalt blue that's like 19 milliliters is like $50 basically.
Yeah, I'd rather go the Emil Ferris route and just draw with big pens. Like,
Yeah.
Emil's doing okay.
Yeah, she's got the voice. I mean, yeah, I think if you have the talent, then you can do whatever you want with any material you want.
Yeah.
Like you use food coloring?
Yeah, it's right. Where is it? Where's some bottles?
Yeah.
Down here. It's Queen brand. It's great stuff. It's Australian. It's like 99 cents a bottle. This is gonna last me for like years.
That's awesome.
I use a bit of gouache, a bit of.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of your bougie Winsor and Newton artist quality.
Yeah.
There.
I think they're like, I have to have my neutral tint. That's what I use.
Yeah.
Grays.
I mean, it's essential.
It's like liquid shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like.
I think just like a lot of colors don't really look in any way natural if they're like full chromatic, shine. You kind of want to dull things down. Like none of the colors in the background here are kind of super bright. You'd mix gray into almost everything here, or white, basically.
Yeah, I don't know. I like consumer products. I like the idea of just, I'm drawing all these COVID comics on like printer paper that I stole from the Fantagraphics office.
That's so funny.
I was using some like Derwent pencils that I actually bought at the like Derwent factory in the Lakes district in the UK.
Yes.
Pencils. But I've started using actually these. It's in like a Whoopi Goldberg Sister Act cup.
Oh, beautiful.
I think they're just some cheap Faber-Castell classic colours I got at the safe. But they go on much smoother. I don't know, nice waxiness. Just cheap shit,
Yeah. I know the production value. Oh, yeah.
Unipins, they're cheap. They're like, do you get them in Canada?
We do, yeah. It's along with the microns and all the pigment liners and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't have microns in Australia, but in Australia, I've been using these since I was 15 years old, since like the 90s.
Well, the other thing is like once you get used to a certain tool, it's like if I was drawing with a micron forever, then that's all I would want to draw with. It's like that you get the memory for kind of how to use it. Like I've been with rapidographs lately, which is like expensive to invest in, but then like one pen will last you like a year and a half and refills for like 2 months or like $6. So
yeah, I've always heard talk of these rapidographs from like, old interviews with cartoonists in the 90s, but I never tried it out. I guess I just got my uni pins and that does the job for me.
Yeah, I mean, you find what you like. They are kind of a pain in the ass. Like, they'll be kind of finicky, and if you don't use them often enough, they just completely break, and you just have to buy a new pen, which is insane. But
So you're currently your recent work, you're using a repeatograph?
pretty much everything I've done for the past like 3 or 4 years, like all the line drawings are repeatographs. Yeah.
What pointers? You can get them in different points, like 0.1, 0.5.
When I'm sketching outside, like all those observational drawings that I post sometimes, those are, I'll just get them here, I'm not sure. So this one says 0.6, that's the thicker nib, it's the red one.
Yep.
And when I'm sketching the comics, it's a little finer, it's a 0.25, 000.
0.25. Nice
Yeah.
bit of body there, bit of lustrousness, very nice.
Yeah.
And you colour it digitally, obviously, or you're just the smoothest painter in the world.
Okay, it's like I'm kind of cheating. So, like, I wonder if I have any examples. Like, I'll draw the line drawing on one sheet of paper, scan it, print it onto watercolor paper in non-photo blue, and then do the fills. Like, so that's like the watercolor. There's no lines on that, and then put them together digitally, basically.
Oh shit!
So all of it's traditional, yeah.
But you do fuck with some classic computer coloring, like the COVID comics. The
COVID, like I don't know. For me, it's like I don't like to be too precious about any one style or format. Like, I'm really bored really quickly. So for a long time, I was very against doing anything digital. I was like very much more interested traditional. And then eventually, I was just like starting to question why I don't just keep changing it up. Like like once I get too used to one way of doing things, I get pretty bored, and it kind of seems rote to me. So I kind of like to challenge myself to kind of think in a different way by changing it up. So yeah, all the COVID comics have been digital. That's the first time though that I've actually done the line work on a tablet as well.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, so like all those, that one that Jack emailed me about that went up on Vice, the ways of seeing ones about all the political profiles for people.
Yeah.
That was like hand drawn, and then I colored it digitally. Yeah.
That's what I thought you were doing with the COVID ones. Well, you've pulled it off. You've tricked me.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Mediums. I assumed you'd just drawn them and then scanned them and colored them. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's off to you.
Thank you. I mean, it's funny because a lot of the process is like about tricking people into thinking things are not as complicated as they are. Like all of the covers for the floppies are like full oil paintings.
Yeah.
Including the lettering, like which seems to like surprise people a lot of the time. So
it's neat. Yeah.
Thanks.
I would have assumed that lettering was somewhat put on in an altered way. Yeah.
Well, if I didn't hand paint it, I'll do like what I'll do is I'll like draw a stencil onto something called frisket film, so it like sticks down on something. And I'll hand cut the letters into the frisket film.
You're talking like number 4. This is number 3. I mean,
that's hand painted, like frisket film. Like I'll cut the stencil out of the paper and then I'll touch it up after.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Are you going to put out more new stories? There's 4 of these now, aren't there?
There's 3, and then there's 2 kind of like standalone stories. But I'm holding off because I'm gonna collect everything. So that's what the next book is. I'm collecting everything that I did, and then I'm adding like probably like 50 pages, hopefully, of new content as well.
Hot.
Keep an eye out. First book.
Have you got a publisher for that?
Conundrum Press. I haven't decided entirely. Maybe I'll workshop this title right now. I'm thinking The Pleasure of the Text is going to be the title. So hopefully publisher doesn't like just reject that outright because now everybody's heard it. So
you got to do more stuff for now?
Yeah, I'm hoping to. After this new thing comes out, I've been kind of toying with a graphic novel. So like I have a whole script for like a long form story, which is the first time I've been like working on something like that. A lot of the time I was like more interested in the short story as a format, and I was like not sure how I wanted to approach a longer format thing. So
you ready?
I feel like I've got something to say. Sorry?
You're ready to tackle it after the short story.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's a good idea. Like before Meg and Mog, I was working on a 1,000-page graphic novel. I got a quarter of the way through it, and have never shown anyone because it stinks.
Yeah.
But with Meg and Mog, like it's all one big thing, but it's in these short little, packages, and I've done some stylistic variances within that, but it all adds up to a whole. I thought it was good for me to just be able to do these freeing short stories that do, coalesce together. But
it's kind of like episodes, in a larger structure.
But then with, the Bad Gateway book, like that was like, to me, they're like, that was like a movie. It was one big story, like,
right.
In 7 chapters. So I sort of had to work up to that. Like, okay, I've done enough little episodes of the TV show. Now I'm going to do
it. I think a lot of people, like when I was in high school, I went to a little arts magnet high school for writing. And I remember like seeing some of my classmates talk about their like 300-page novel that they wrote. And I'm like, really like trying to figure out what I'm doing on a small scale and then expand before I kind of grapple with that. The other part of it is like, I'm so into density and like making everything very intricate. So it's like that 16-page story and now took like way, way, way too long because it just made it more and more complicated like every other day. So now I'm kind of trying to figure out how to streamline and simpler.
As most cartoonists, as they get older, they pare it down a bit. Your Clowes, Tomine, Bag, some of my favorites from the old days. Like they really, they strip it back and just the essential lines to tell the story. They're busy changing diapers and stuff and like going to the toilet endlessly, so they have to.
Yeah, I think there's an art to it.
Oh, it's Jack Cohen making
a
scheduled appearance.
You guys are doing your VanCAF promotion?
We're doing a VanCAF Zoom, yes.
Yeah, this is it. Cameo from Jack Cohen.
Jack Cohen from Fantagraphics Books.
Yep, wearing my new pink fundraising t-shirt by Gilbert Hernandez.
He just came in to plug the t-shirts.
Available through fantagraphics.threadless.com. So, fundraising for the book sellers.
I have it in my shopping cart right now in another tab. I'm ordering it tonight.
Beautiful.
There you go.
The booksellers group, I love that. Fantastic.
Well, you boys have fun.
Oh, we're having a whale of a time chin wagging about the funny books.
Yeah.
She's out there selling them.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot what we were talking about now. Terrible. How rude.
I'm trying to remember too. I've been eating way too many weed cookies, so like time is like. And the thing with the cookies is like when it's edible, the curve is like longer. So like you wake up the next day. So it's like there's never a point where I'm not like.
Actual fog.
Yeah, exactly. Which is where I need to be right now. So yeah, I can't face reality fully at this point. Yeah.
I think a lot of people are doing that. I think booze sales are up. People are drinking more, and what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
You have to manage your anxieties.
I hear a lot of like little seminars telling people like, oh, don't cope with the stress by drinking every night. And I'm like, are you crazy? Like that's exactly how you should be handling this.
I did take a day off last week. I drank a cider, and I think I took a day off from the comic. I just posted in my stories like I'm fucked. Like I'm so hungover, I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Right.
But in moderation, I try to just have a drink or two a night with dinner, and not get like
don't go overboard. Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't done anything other than I have friends like swallowing mushrooms and like doing ketamine. I'm just like that would just like push me over the edge at this point.
A little bit of ketamine. It's a horse tranquilizer, I think. So
it is a sedative, right? So it calms you down.
If you get in a K-hole, it's not going to matter. You got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
If you're in a club and you're in a K-hole, it's like, oh no. But if you're in a it's like, oh,
yeah.
Put another Seinfeld on. That's just good.
Yeah, exactly.
Back
to consciousness.
Oh man. What?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to do a sleazy plug for Now issue 8 from Fantagraphics because we're talking about your story in there. There was a good one. People should go and buy Now.
Thanks. Yeah, I worked a long time on it. I'm like it's the thing I've happiest with that I've made so far, probably. So check it out, folks. Like I hope it doesn't make me any enemies. I make myself out to be pretty crazy.
Well, that's what I like about your work. I don't know. It's Yeah, I know, it takes chances and stuff. Like, it's realistic writing. It's writing about real shit, and I don't know.
Thanks.
There's a danger to it, not in a bad way.
Oh, I know what you mean, and that's something I admire about your stuff as well. Well, even like you had some like a couple trolls stirring up some controversy in your comments lately too. It
Yeah,
can be a bit like witch hunty this scene lately, and not that I'm like some alt right loser who's trying to troll people, like just like full disclosure so that I don't get like canceled. Um, but it's like when you try to talk about real stuff, sometimes people get freaked out.
yeah. No, I've noticed like fights in the comments and stuff, and I feel uncomfortable jumping in and kind of like, hey, and like taking a side and kind of like. I don't want to get involved. Now, I've done that before. I've tried to like sort of like, oh well, hey, and like people just use it against you in a way. And
Right.
I tend to just let the work speak for itself.
Yeah.
And, the fans, I guess, people are talking amongst themselves and arguing about things. But,
Right.
I don't know. I wouldn't say. I guess I would say trolls. I don't know, but virtuous trolls. They're
Virtuous. I mean, their hearts are in the right place, I guess. Yeah.
just when you write about something like dicey, like sexual assault, there are going to be people that take it in different ways, and some people will be triggered or offended, or it's not a bad thing. But yeah, it's been interesting, some of those conversations. Which if people get offended, that's okay, because I think there's some interesting conversations coming out of it.
I mean, I think that's part of the whole point is like, where are we supposed to have these conversations? Like, this is literally the safest space that we can make to kind of revisit these traumas and talk about them in like a inclusive and like fair way where everybody can kind of think about it from a distance instead of being, actually experiencing it,
Yeah. I thought it was funny, the person who was like got really mad about the sort of sexual assault thread in the story, which I'm following up on now, like Meg's pregnant and stuff. Like I was going this was like a month ago, and there's this awkward sexual encounter between Meg and Booger, and everyone was like, oh, it was one person was like, oh, it was going somewhere. At the time, I knew that this is going to get Meg pregnant, like, and it's going to be this murky, fucking complicated situation.
Right. They're just seeing one scene, right, and then they don't know what's coming, and they're like, "Oh, he's just throwing this in there to screw or something."
For a reason. But the person that got upset and was sort of complaining and sort of school marming me a bit in the comments was saying, like, before any like dudes, they implied that like dudes were going to come for them and harass them, and a lot of the people that sort of pretty calmly defended the strip and art and like. I looked at their profiles and it was mostly like hippie girls with septum piercings and like women of color.
I thought it was ironic.
A broad spectrum of people, like,
Yeah, the dude who was slamming you was like, "Oh, you're not respecting your like queer audience," and then everybody, like your entire audience is queer. I feel like.
Yeah. I also like.
And defending you was also queer, like.
I was blocked by this person before. I didn't say anything to them. I didn't intend to make a comeback or just, but they blocked me. But so a friend of mine sent me a screen cap from their art wall, and it was this really like rapey looking picture of like this dead-eyed man choking a younger person. But and it was like that's like the same thing I did, but there was no nuance to it. There was no story behind it. There was nothing it was building to. It was just like a really rapey looking single image. So
so who's being the more responsible one there? I had a thing, and a friend of mine were running a queer film series for a while, and we were screening Almodovar's Pepe Lucy Bomb, which is like sort of a problematic like kind of picture. There is some assault in it as well, and it's like we were trepidatious about putting it out there, but at the end of the day, we thought like, well, we can have a dialogue about this, and we can all talk about it, and then we can kind of have a better feeling of how we all feel and want to respond to the work afterwards, right? So
and it might be hard, but I don't know. There's this culture now of like it's the purity teens, they're called. I think just a younger audience that just don't like this sort of transgressive work, like, Debbie Dreshler, like Daddy's Girl or something. Like, oh no, like, you can't write about this, and there's a lot of people that are against
vibe from like the alternative comics history. I feel like up until now, it's been like the polar opposite, where people get away with it. and like push the envelope as much as possible. Which
Well,
is
the
where I'm
internet's
kind of
opened,
trying.
the
Mhm.
internet's opened everything up, and we're seeing cross pollination of all these scenes, and like manga started to come into like as an influence. I mean, for a long time, and everything's
Yeah.
blurred together. This big cultural melding. So
True.
there's always been fighting for forever. These are all the same arguments, really. Like it's like
Right.
that kid in the whole sketch from like the art class sketch. Like I don't know, that could have been made today. There's
I can't remember that. Which one?
Oh, there's an art class segment in Kids in the Hall. I won't go into it, but it just could have been made today. You can search Kids in the Hall art class or on YouTube and it comes up. But I remember Australia went through a big sort of PC type sort of discussion in the 90s, and there's a lot of comedy about it you can find. And I was looking it up and it's like, wow, like this is just no different. It's just like this cyclical Lion King kind of circle of arguing.
The circle of life.
But yeah, I try to stay out of the arguments these days. And I've done a bit of cheeky tweeting recently. Couldn't help myself. But then I was like, instantly, someone blocked me. And I was like, what? Why? And just like, it's just like, I'm not getting into it with these people. Like, I'm just, it's just exhausting.
It's just like when you're putting it out there from like the place of your public persona in like a tweet or something, I feel like that's less responsible than framing it in the context of your art, where you can decide exactly the consequences for all these characters. Like the character in my Now story just behaves like a total asshole. But at the end of the story, he's like obviously suffering and is punished for it. It's like it kind of wanted to illustrate that. Whereas somebody could take one page out of that and be like, wow, Sami must really hate everybody.
Yeah, I find there's been a real trend in just like popular media the last like decade, but which is probably waning now. Just like Lena Dunham, Girls, like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, just all these sort of indie movies about horrible people, and Walter White or whatever in Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
but sort of the decade of the anti-hero and just the unlikable monster that you could maybe see yourself in a little bit, but pretend you didn't. But maybe we're moving away from that.
I don't know. I think it's still kind of like Uncut Gems came out this year. I thought that was like a perfect example.
Still haven't fucking seen it. But,
Oh, really? I'm going to say that's my favorite of this year.
I heard good things, but I'm always working, so I watch garbage that's not distracting. So
that's true.
I'm 2 seasons behind on Better Call Saul and like all these shows I want to watch, but I just don't. Right. They're too engaging,
That's the thing. I always listen to music while I'm drawing because I find anything that's visual on in the background, I'm just kind of like always looking one way and the other.
I watch old British sitcoms and stuff that I've seen a million times before. Like
so you don't even need to look. You already know.
If anything animated is on, I would just get distracted looking at the backgrounds. I can't watch anything animated or just even if it's like garbage and like totally uninteresting, I'll still just be looking at like the backgrounds and like I don't really like anime or anything, but I love the background paintings. Just those beautiful background. I've never gotten into it. I like Neon Genesis and I like a few things. I used to watch Cardcaptor Sakura on Cartoon Network a lot, but mostly for the backgrounds.
Yeah, I loved Cardcaptors. I watched that even when I was like a tween until one day somebody was like, Sami, that's a girl's show.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why I like it.
Well, and they have that amazing lesbian romance that they cut out of the North American version.
Oh, I would have missed out on that.
Yeah, so like in the English version, in the Japanese, it was like they were like girlfriends or something, or one had a huge crush on the other one, and then in the show they were just like best friends. In the North American version.
Did you know Phil Elverum at all at Microphones, Mount Erie?
I do not.
Well, he's a musician guy, but anyway, he's quite a famous musician now. He's married to Genevieve Castry, cartoonist. And Michelle Williams was in the tabloids everywhere. It was crazy because I know Phil, and it was really weird to see that. Anyway, there was a Cardcaptor Sakura thread that I swear was like one of his most famous albums was based on it or something. It was like the Pink, like the Dark Side of the Moon, Wizard of Oz thing where they sync up.
Yeah.
I think I asked him about it. I was like, did you base that album on Cardcaptor Sakura? This is a really weird question. He was like, no, of course not. What the fuck are you talking about? But there was just this certain, like, the Glow Part 2 is the album. And I don't know. There was all this stuff in Cardcaptor Sakura that was like, that just is this album, this weird folk album.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's very off topic. But, What's happened to this talk? It's really derailed.
Yeah, I don't know. We really derailed it. I knew this was gonna happen, probably.
Card Captor Sakura indie musician, like tabloid
I
theories.
think we talked like a decent amount about comics. It's probably like 70% comics. That's a good.
We're still talking about comic. Like Clamp, Card Captor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Comic. It's just a bit weird. But yeah, no, I try to read more manga. I like my Junji Ito.
Yeah.
The stuff
And
and
just,
stuff like Ding
I
Dong
was
Circus
reading-
and stuff. But
Mhm.
I got a bunch of Garos. I like the weird stuff. I'll try and read.
I really wanted to get my hands on those Garos. They're kind of hard to find.
I found a bunch of the Beguiling a few years ago, just like the old Beguiling.
Well, I should just put in a shout out to the Beguiling, who is doing free delivery in Toronto. Everybody watching can
Very nice.
buy their books.
One of the best comic shops in North America.
Yes, they're amazing.
I've not visited since they expanded. I went to the new
It's
location
nice.
after they moved out of the old scummy one, which I
Yeah,
love.
yeah.
But yeah, the new one, I've heard they've got a basement now or something.
They have. I got a tour of it. So I was like supposed to have a solo show there that was opening on March 20th.
I remember the poster. Yeah, it was nice.
So that was a good time. But while I was setting up, I got a tour of the whole basement and everything, and it's pretty extensive. It's like a whole comics dungeon down there.
Yeah, that sounds good. 'Cause that's what I loved about the old Beguiling. It seemed like an old dungeon. When I visited the new location a few years ago, I was like, oh, it's like proper lighting and a window.
Yeah,
Like,
it's got like floor-to-ceiling windows, and like everything is like white walls. It's very beautiful.
everything was in order as well. Like you couldn't just walk up some shady alley and find a bunch of Garos stuffed under a bunch of little Lulus. Like,
Well, and then
everything
you
was
feel
all-
more gratified because you searched for it and found it. Otherwise, it would never have been accessible, right?
Yeah, you'd find an old Multiforce or something. It's like weird old Brinkman stuff hiding. Like there were just treasures everywhere. It's like, do you guys know? Hey Peter, do you have this? He's like, I don't fucking know. Like, go and look. I don't know. The old days.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope all these comic shops can survive. Like, I love Floating World in Portland, like Jason.
Yeah, that's the big stress. I mean, even the festivals, I hope, like, shout out to VanCAF and TCAF, which would have been this weekend. Like, I hope they can survive. It's kind of freaky to think about.
Yeah, people are just pivoting.
Functioning on like a 5% margin, right?
So I think SBX is saying they're still going ahead, and I don't know if it's going to be
In September.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, things are starting to reopen now. Just kind of
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true.
I ain't going nowhere. Like, I'm not.
No, I'm not gonna. I mean,
I had like a museum show in Dublin, Ireland, in like October or something. Like, even if they say, "Hey, let's do it," I'll be like, "Oh, fuck off!" Like,
yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, for me, it's like, do I want to ask other people to come to that too? Like, I'm not sure at this point if I'm down.
yeah, I'm also scared to travel because, like, I'm just a green card holder. Like, I'm an immigrant in America. Like, like the idea of being separated from my like partner and pets is
And
just,
stuck in Ireland specifically.
Yeah, or just stuck anywhere, or just who knows what could happen. I could get to the border and they're like, "Nah, you're out now. You go back to Australia," and it's like, I haven't lived there for 5 years. My wife, my pets, like,
yeah,
no. Like, it's just paranoid.
Yeah.
So,
well, to be safe, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, where are you right now in Canada?
Toronto.
You are in Toronto. Okay.
Yeah, I like it here. I've been here since I got out of college in Baltimore. That was like 4 years ago and a half, maybe.
Okay.
So it's a good scene here. I feel like I'm starting to fit into the crowd more, make more comics friends. Like me and I don't know if you know Eric Kostiuk Williams. We hang out a bit.
Yes, I think he called me alt-right on Twitter once. Yeah. So yes, I do know who he is. Well, I think he alluded to it. I don't think it was outright.
Fair, yeah.
He said I was employing the same tactics, and I was kind of like offended by it. But yeah, seems like a really nice guy though, and a very talented cartoonist.
Yeah, he's good. I like his comics.
He seems like a really nice guy. I got nothing against him. Even he called me outright on Twitter. Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, I first met you, I think, 2014 at SBX.
Yeah.
I think you gave me a scene or something, and I was like, this is like not shit. This is really good. And,
yeah, that really, I mean, yeah, that really encouraged me because yeah, it was a funny story. We went, I met you there and like basically offered to bring a joint for us to smoke the next day. And
of course.
yeah, and then
Marriott loves that kind of behavior. They encourage it.
I was like, what's kosher to talk about in this venue? I don't know. Like,
So we were chewing some bubble gum.
yeah, we were just chewing bubblegum outside the Marriott hotel.
You bought some bubble gum, and you, me, and your partner at the time
Yeah.
chewed bubble gum and shot the shit.
That was so funny to me to remember because I was only with that guy for like a month and a half or something, and I think I was like cheating on him with somebody at the time that I saw you.
Was he a hotelier or something? He gave me his business card, I think.
So this is what his deal was. He like had a domain name for roomservice.com, which was very high valued that he got like by some ages ago. So he would scam people by like giving them his card and pretending that he had a luxury website, and then restaurants would give him free meals and stuff like that.
Damn.
Shtick.
He's like a grifter. He seemed like a nice guy.
Like, oh, why did I have to meet Simon, like one of my comics heroes, while I was with him?
Yeah, no, we've kept in touch over the years. I remember seeing you upstairs at TCAF in the second floor of AKA No Man's Land.
Yeah.
So
and I transferred now. They brought me down into Wowie Zonk the year after. So
yeah, well, you deserve to be in Wowie Zonk.
Moving
yeah,
up.
It's nice to see you getting the now and stuff and become a part of this whole thing. And
thank you. Yeah,
nice
it feels
to meet
like
someone. I get real sad when I meet a talented cartoonist and they slowly just fall away from the scene. Or go into animation. I'm always just like, no.
It's. I mean, I don't blame people. It's not an easy life.
Yeah, it is rough.
But it's like for me, it's just like I've invested so much time at this point that I just don't see myself stopping for the next like decade or two at least. Yeah.
I think you have to do it for the joy of it as well.
Yeah.
I do this for the joy of it because I have to.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see myself being able to express the sort of work that I want to make in any other medium. So it's like, why?
Yeah. I mean, do you think about film and stuff? I mean, would you?
Actually, that's funny that you should. I'm not doing animation. Like I had a day job as a ticket agent at TIFF for a long time, and I'm really into movies, like very, very into movies, and I watch a lot. So I think if that door opened, I'd be down. Like I see a few people, you saw Marjane Satrapi now did her own film that she directed. Like first she did Persepolis, and then she did that Curie film. So there seems kind of to be a pipeline for people to get into movies through comics. So
I'd see it both as just
10 years.
I just see it as visual storytelling. So
yeah,
for me, the benefit of comics is like full auteur control and no studio system that's going to mess with you. Like it's very cheap and direct.
Yeah.
I would kind of like to make a film. Like it is, it's just adding sound and that into the mix, but I wouldn't rule it out. But I love the grinding process of comics as well. We were talking about the body paint earlier. And, I do love this process. I love the penciling, the inking, the coloring, and the art of it, and the tools. I like the way people romanticize film and like cameras and like techniques. It's
I don't have that much of it. What I like about the idea of making a movie is just that like I'm very into immersion. Like that's like sort of the whole idea with making things so detailed with my own stuff. Like I want something that will just like consume you totally, which is like the theater is like the perfect example of that.
Yeah, it adds sound in a dark room, tunnel vision with atmospheric sounds. Yeah. I tinker around with the animation studios and talk to the studios that are making Mog Show. I've been through a lot of that bullshit and a lot of shit's not happened, and I've turned shit down. I'm still talking to people and whatever, but yeah, I don't really want to be involved with it. I always say like, you write it. Hey, you celebrity person, you write the scripts, and you just like, I'll consult. I'll turn up in a bathrobe, just like eating a banana, and just like looks good, sounds good, no problems. Finish her off.
That's the ultimate kind of place you could be, because then you just rake in the cash from the royalties.
Well, for me, the TV show had just been advertisement for the books.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I want to keep drawing the books. Like I identify as a cartoonist. Like that's just what I am. Like I was saying earlier, like it's sad when cartoonists leave. I get like Sam
Yeah.
Alden left and was consumed by the Hollywood system. Or,
Oh, is Sam Alden not making comics anymore?
well, I mean, have you bought one in the last 6
Yeah, that's
years?
true. He hasn't put anything out. But it's hard to tell. It's like somebody could be off the radar for like 3 years and they've just been working on a book the whole time, right?
I think Sam did put out something on some like website, a digital venue, or did some.
Yeah.
He's still doing
Yeah, the
illustration.
one that Roman was on. What was that called? Yeah, I liked a few of the things.
Popular or something was the one that Vanessa Davis was doing.
No, it wasn't popular. It was they're defunct now. I don't think they're running comics anymore, but they had a few great things. Roman Muradov had some great stuff up on there. I remember their name right now.
Yeah, but this cartoonist leave. I understand, like, Alex Schubert, the Blobby Boys guy, like, there's healthcare, there's security in the animation world. If you look at Disney, he's had I don't know if it's, well, he had a kid like Alex Schubert. I don't know if that's public. He's like hiding his kid in like a butterfly
secret child
or something. I don't know what he's doing. But yeah, these people just disappear for various reasons.
Right.
Dead Comics is a fucking grind. It's
It's the labor of love. I mean, I kind of feel like it's sort of like a bit BDSM, like you get the pleasure from the pain. Like,
yeah, that's a perfect analogy. Yeah, I'm selling enough shit and like surviving at this and making a living out of it and like building a brand or whatever. So I feel like, I see so much talk in the community about how fucking difficult it is and like, I don't know how rough the cons are, but I've always had a pretty nice experience in Australia. The zine fairs were all free to table at.
Really? Wow, that's crazy.
Free photocopies at the government office. So like we're printing things for free and tabling for free, and you made
low overhead,
and you made a lot of friends.
Yeah.
So it always just seemed kind of nice. And then I put a bunch of stuff on Tumblr, and it got a bit popular. And like, oh, now I can sell a few zines, and like, oh, now I can travel to America and like go to a few festivals, and it just kind of just naturally grew. And there were tough times along the road. I mean, obviously, I was combining cards with partners. Like, you've got 80 cents, I've got 60 cents. We can get a can of beans. Like, it's
right. Yeah, no, that's still sort of where I'm at. That was another question that I had that I was thinking. So before you went viral, how long were you kind of toiling before?
Well, I mean, I started making zines at 8 years old and was selling them on the playground, through elementary, primary, whatever, school, high school, dropped out of high school. I worked a lot of jobs, McDonald's, call centers, all this shit. But yeah, I was just grinding, making my zines, lived in London for a bit, just like doing music stuff, selling zines at the shows. And by the time I was about to turn 30, I was starting to get real depressed about it. It was like, I wanted to be published. I wanted to be, well known, not thinking I was ready for it, but probably not. I still don't think I am. I still criticize my work heavily and
I think that's how you get better. I think every artist should be in that state of mind most of the time.
Oh, it's healthy, I think, but also. But yeah, I remember being in a bookstore that I was working, a university bookstore I was working at when I was 30, and I was looking on the Comics Reporter website at like all the, what to do, how the fuck can you get published? And like, I was sending stuff off to like No Brow, oh God, and Top Shelf, and got rejection letters, and never sent anything to Fantagraphics because I thought they'd think I was a dickhead. And yeah, I don't know, I was desperate. I was going to send stuff to like Image and Marvel. I was like, oh, they've printed a few funny things. Maybe Image. I mean, Image does print a lot of their stuff.
Alternative world.
I thought maybe Image would publish fucking Megan Mogg, but yeah, I know. Then I don't know. The Tumblr thing happened, and it just sort of blew up in a low.
Blew up from there, yeah.
And I had a bunch of publishers that I idolized writing to me, and it just happened real fucking quick. But I don't know. I put in the work, I guess. I had been working real hard. I had a backlog of work, and then
well, that's the thing. It's like when you blew up, you had like a big chunk of stuff for people to read, right? It wasn't like you just had one story that got.
I had my unread graphic novel that I've never shown anyone, that I practiced on, and then I had like 200 pages of Megan Mogg, so I was kind of.
Which is not nothing. 200 is like a decent amount of work.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was looking at Megahex the other week, and it's like,
No,
I'm shocked.
That holds up.
It's like, really? Like they Fantagraphics published this? Like,
this is great.
I mean, towards the end of the book, it gets a bit better, but there's some really ugly stuff in there, and just.
I like, number one, I wouldn't say it's ugly, and number two, like, I think people once they vibe with the writing and the vision and like the voice of what you're doing, like they're not worried. Like, you can make whatever you want to make with the chops you have, like, and that stuff looks really good to me. I don't know what you're worried about.
I don't know. It just looks all janky and weird, and just bad, ugly drawing, and then paper ratty. Like, I was always, like trying to beat that influence out and try to add more Simpsons in to dilute it, because it's okay to rip off the Simpsons, but you could just the influences were there, and just How old are you now, Sammy?
I am 28.
Okay, 28.
Yeah, so I haven't yet been beaten down by the world.
Yeah. You've also beat me. You've been published by Fantagraphics earlier than I have, or like a major indie publisher. So yeah, a toast to you. Congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, it feels like still like I'm in this liminal space, and I'm like excited about where everything is going. I mean, it's what you just said about like all these people that you revered. It's like, for me, I've been reading Fantagraphics since I was 16. I've been reading Best American. It was like one of the first anthologies that got me into comics, basically.
Yeah, good gateway.
Yeah, and so like to be in those spaces, I was like this is stuff that I've been thinking about for decades, and now it's happening. It's cool.
Yeah, no, it blows my mind. Like, the first time I went to Dan Klaus's house and hung out with him, I just I came my pants.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, sorry, Dan, if you're watching.
You're gonna like make it too awkward for him.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be weird next time we make eye contact. Yeah, no, it is weird just crossing over into a space that you've, that fan thing. It's weird when I get fans now, like people like, oh, this book got me through high school, or just like they're crying. I've had people cry at a sign.
That's awesome.
Low-key Beatlemania, but it's hard to reckon with, because you hate yourself so much. So when someone's telling you how great you are, it's like, no, I look in the mirror and I revile myself. I have to think back. You have to think back.
That's what they love. They love that self-hatred because it's in the work too, and they all.
Yeah. Yeah, but I just have to like, that's awesome, thank you. And you want to not be a prick and not be a big sad sack like, oh, I'm terrible, I'm Gollum. Just have to be like, well, nice. Like, you have to think back to when you wrote an embarrassing fan letter to to Mick Jagger or something when you were
right.
Oh, Mick, I love you. Oh my God. Like,
I think I did. I actually did send you an embarrassing like Facebook message fan letter. If you search your Facebook messages back to like 2012.
Yeah, I never check my Facebook messages. It says I have to like the messenger.
So there's an unread message from a young cartoonist, Sammy.
There's probably a lot of weird stuff in there. I think maybe I looked once, and there was a lot of stuff, and I was like, this person wrote to me? And I'm not looking at it now. Like, shit.
Completely logged off Facebook. It's like a hellscape there, so.
Yeah, no, I have a Facebook, but I don't really use it.
Yeah, I don't really.
Yeah, no, but you're certainly like rising on your way up. Like I was saying earlier, it's just nice to see you like rising, like your wings spreading and you taking off from this, young ingenue at SPX in 2014. This, howdy, Simon Hanselmann, can I give you a copy of my zine? And now you're like, hi, I'm Sami Alwani, like you're award winner. You're an award winner now. You got like fucking, Scott Thompson handing you trophies. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to behold.
It's cool. It's like, well, and it's also encouraging. It's like, okay, I can make it work. Like, that's what you want. It's like, okay, there's a hint that maybe there is an audience brewing, so it encourages you to keep going, basically, yeah.
Well, yeah, you're someone whose work I enjoy, and like more, I'd need more. It's always,
thanks, yeah. I'm trying. I'm pushing to get out. I'm so slow is the problem. Like, I'm very methodical a lot of the time, and I'm getting better at that, but it's definitely, and it's hard because I kind of want to work that way too. I also like don't want to just put out one 16-page story every 2 years. Like,
no, you got to just piss it out. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to be a bit precious and keep the quality there, but also you just got to fucking whip it out. There's so
It's
many.
a fine line, yeah.
There's so many bad hands and like bad panels in my work. Like I just let them go. You know, if someone complains,
I don't even know that that's true. Some of your wood grain looks like it takes hours.
Well, I'm obsessive as well.
What's that?
I feel like it's 50-50. I'm rushing everything and I don't give a fuck. And 50, like obsessive. The wood grains, I don't have to do them, but I do.
It works.
But it's the immersion as well. You were talking about immersion earlier. And
yeah.
Film, but it's like with comics, I have to have the backgrounds there. It's just...
Yeah, it kind of sinks you into the space.
Yeah, like just too many of these contemporary comics I see, it's just floating heads. And
exactly.
Clip and paste, like... there's no sense of place for me.
Yeah.
My stuff is very talking head, I think, but I do like to have lots of establishing shots and, really set the scene. I notice the same thing in your work. Like, that's why I enjoy your work, because it draws me in and it's, it's that full background experience.
Yeah, that's why I practice those freehand perspective drawing lines.
Yeah.
No,
you got to do some life drawing and stuff and just, Are you a sketchbooker?
Yeah, I mean, I do, I pretty much, before the end of the world, I do, go to coffee shops every day and kind of draw from observation.
Nice.
Be a way bigger part of my practice. I do, this thing is from observation. I like to kind of practice that way, and then when I go back to kind of doing the comics, I get a little bit more sensitive to what details I should and shouldn't include. Even when you're working in a pared down, simple style, it's like when you have that knowledge from drawing from observation, it kind of helps you choose and decide what's important. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to work with a limited tool set, and choice of lines is important.
Exactly.
The pen dancing upon the page. This marvelous, marvelous dance. You sound like you get into the process sometimes. Like you're saying, you can work non-stop for 12 hours. And
yeah. I mean, that's I would say a normal day is 8 hours. When I'm in the thick of things, and then when it's rushing to do a deadline, for some reason I spent a whole year penciling that Now story, and then I decided to ink everything in 1 month. So I pretty much was working 13, 14-hour days every day, which
I know. I'm guessing some days were a horrific grind, and other days you get that elated feeling where you're just so invested.
Yeah, it's just the world falls away, and the only thing that exists is the work that you're doing.
Yeah, the record is skipping silently. Been off for 3 hours, and
Yeah.
Just working.
I like to psych myself into it. I'm when I'm drawing, I just want to. I mean, this is gonna sound crazy, but I want to exist outside of time and history. I just want to be in this other space that's not this world, and then just put into this world, kind of.
No, that's what I've said. Similar things before.
Yeah.
In a crackpot manner to friends, it is just when you get that full immersion, it's you don't exist.
Exactly.
You're just this machine making this work.
You're a conduit.
It's just a singular purpose, and everything. It's very zen.
It's very ecstatic, kind of meditative experience. It's nice.
It really,
yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's why I love comics. It's that autonomy and that just singular experience. There's no crew. I mean, obviously comics can be made that way with a team, but all my favorite cartoonists are auteur cartoonists who a cartoonist. Someone who makes the whole product, the whole sausage themselves.
Yeah, it is nice. It kind of frees you up. There's no expectations. It's not there's a 1,000 years of comics history on your back to watch over you. You're not making work for anybody but yourself. So it's a nice feeling.
Yeah, no one to blame but yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
No scapegoats around. no editors or best boys or grips that you can.
Yeah, I mean that when we were talking about film, it's like that's one thing that I think would kind of scare me off. It's like especially with the type of work I want to make, I'm wondering, can I push all those same boundaries and then like get away with that with the studio? Because that whole scene is very conservative a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to be putting out a craft service table and stuff, like opening
Yeah.
salami packets, and it's going to be a lot of extra work.
Yeah, you gotta like. I've seen friends of mine who work in the industry like doing the Instacart pre-order for like the crew, getting 500 sandwiches ready.
Is this shit still going to happen? Like, this is off topic from comics, but just like Hollywood, like, I made a tweet actually saying, with comics, like, like I feel bad for Hollywood, like when they come back, like they're going to do coronavirus entertainment, but I've already done it in all these comics. Like,
yeah,
I was like, one crazy man has beat an entire industry. Like, it's like, they've picked up Young Sheldon again, and like the movies are still going to get made. Apparently, movies are getting greenlit, but can they really bring like that many people together? 500 people eating sandwiches? Like,
yeah, I'm guessing like all of the narratives for these new films have to be Corona centric. So like
probably
every character is wearing a mask the whole time.
Well, yeah, the new Young Sheldon, I imagine, is going to be Corona.
Everybody's masked Sheldon, yeah.
Well, it'd be interesting to see how they take it on. There was that Parks and Recreation COVID special, which I watched because I was just very interested to see this was the first major popular mainstream piece of art about coronavirus, really.
Right.
I thought it was very weak.
I'm curious about the finale of RuPaul. That's what I'm waiting to see.
Well, yeah, me too. I mean, the whole cherry pie warnings.
So that part is fucked up. And then, but also like the idea that like, so they are going to have filmed the finale after all this is broken out. So we'll see how they handle it.
Yeah, because they haven't filmed the finale yet.
No, yeah.
So with the whole coronavirus and cherry pie shitstorm together, my God.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of bad press with the fracking thing. And
oh my God, I did a comic and Meg just mentioned
I saw that.
Just wanted to watch some RuPaul, something nice, and then everyone jumped in fracking. I was like, what the? They're like, haven't you heard about this? And I looked it up and it was from like 5 hours before that. I was like, no, I haven't heard about it. I was working all day.
Yeah, how dare you, Simon?
I was 5 hours behind the times. But...
yeah.
Yeah, no, that was weird, the RuPaul fracking. The RuPaul just on Terry Gross, just like brought it up himself. Like, why would he do that?
Yeah, RuPaul's just like pretty suspicious character at this point. I mean, they made all those transphobic comments earlier, so I'm not a RuPaul fan. I mean, I think Drag Race is great. I have a lot of friends who follow it religiously.
I think it's just RuPaul being an old school fruit, like,
Yeah, I think it's just like the fact is RuPaul's like a boomer now, basically.
Well, yes, I think he's having trouble. He's having a bit of trouble adapting to new
times, yeah.
Modes of, new modes of operating. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think RuPaul's evil overall, but the fracking thing was very strange. I mean, it's business RuPaul. He's monetized and packaged.
Separate business and pleasure. They're two modes, right?
Yeah, but I do think overall RuPaul has probably helped with acceptance of. I remember RuPaul was as like a cross-dresser and someone who did think they were trans for a long time, and it still doesn't really fucking know.
Right.
It was a big deal when Drag Race came out.
Yeah.
I think it exposed it to the mainstream. Like, I think the mainstream just likes it. Like, I guess it does sully everything. Like, there's the argument that it's like changed everything. It probably has, but I think overall, like, dumb fucks in the Southwest are probably more accepting of, that kind of culture than they would have been had it not been mainstreamized. But, it's a heavy conversation for another day.
Yeah, anyways,
Unless you want to sum up there, what's your opinion on all this hardcore stuff?
On the RuPaul stuff?
Yeah, if you want. I was like, should we segue off it? But, we can talk about whatever we want, I guess. Hashtag VanCAF.
Yeah, I don't know. It's true. I mean, I think it's like, I think the idea is exposure to the mainstream kind of beats all the bigots into submission. Like, I like the idea of people being so exposed to something that they're very aware that if they make their fucked up opinions known, then people are going to fight them on it, which I think is like a virtue to something becoming mainstream, which is cool. I mean, I don't know that it's changing any bigots' minds about being transphobic or
Yeah.
afraid of
Family
drag or
members,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, I find it a heartwarming show. Like I've cried watching it before. It's like the stories of the people. It humanizes and queens that I initially hate. I'm like, oh, you are busted. Like you suck. But then like there's they start to talk about themselves and I'm like, oh, I fucking love you now. Like I've learned.
It's a very emotional connection. It's crafted that way. I have a suspicion RuPaul like gives them like a little preamble before each film set, and then she's like, so I want you to ask this queen about like ages 13 through 16. They've dug up all the dirt, and then like
it's in the editing. It's a reality show.
Yeah.
I got a soft spot for it, but the fracking thing was weird. And,
I mean, nothing's black and white, I guess, anymore, right? Something can be doing a service to people and then be coming from the wrong place at the same time, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's art. I mean, like, going back to what I was saying, like, my work, I tackle my strip today. I'm pretty sure some people are going to get upset.
I'm going to be in the comments, like, busting your balls. I'm getting ready. I have my phone out.
I got more pushback on certain things. I don't know. I did.
Audience kind of knows what to expect at this point. I mean, they're not like people who have been following you for more than like a few days kind of know what they're in for. Yeah.
But a lot of new people coming on board, and it's a bit concerning.
Well, one thing I thought was interesting about that drama was it got me thinking about trigger warnings and stuff like that. And it's like, for me, as an auteur, I'm like, I'm not really, it feels weird to say, but I'm not really into trigger warnings just because it kind of gives you, it kind of like ruins the narrative arc of what you're doing. It's like if you want people to be devastated by something that happens like at this part of the plot, them hear what's going to go on it's like at the same time, like I'm totally respectful
of course.
I don't know.
That's an interesting point, though. I never thought about like the roller coaster of storytelling, and like something shocking happens to a character that you're invested in, and like, oh my god, like it does take away that intensity. Which is like maybe too intense for some. I don't know. Like, I put a trigger warning on the front of Megahex, and one of the trigger warnings was rimming. So then people were expecting it. So when the rimming happened, they're like, I was expecting the rimming. This isn't shocking at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn it.
Like, totally nonplussed at that point.
Damn.
I don't think rimming is triggering for anybody anymore, to be honest. I think rimming is like pretty wholesome content.
No, it is. It's mainstream now. It's mainstream.
Yeah.
But, that was a joke one, but I did put like sexual assault and stuff.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So I made a joke of it by putting rimming because I can never be fully serious for some reason. I had to include a joke in the trigger warning. But it was there had been a controversy about the sexual assault bit with Al, and I don't know. I don't want to fucking talk about that. I've talked about it so many bloody times in interviews.
Yeah, we don't need to
it was a real event. It was something based on a friend. It was.
I remember hearing that in some of your interviews. Yeah.
I'll just anyway. Blah.
And then it's like if you're talking about an experience that you've had firsthand, it's like by censoring that voice, is like, is that helping either? Like, I don't know. It's hard. Yeah.
The reason he moved out, it's for someone a reader could be like, aha, that character has made a decision after this transgressive act to leave this circle of people.
Exactly, yeah, which is healthy.
Other levels of tolerance towards one's behavior. I don't know.
Exactly, and then the audience itself misses Al because he's such an excellent character, and they also feel the repercussions of the other characters' terrible actions, right? So,
boom, art.
That's what we're doing.
Museum.
In the factory.
Read it on the train. Anything you're reading currently that's like getting your rocks?
I've been reading a lot just because I can't work as much as I'd like to. So I went through 2 Posey Simmons books. I got through all of Dykes to Watch Out For. I got through all of the Ghost in the Shell manga.
Damn.
Got through Takan Concrete, which I've been a Matsumoto fan for a long time, but I've read everything else, even the weird obscure stuff like Go-Go Monster and like Blue Spring, but never Takan Concrete, so that was nice.
Nice.
What else? Comics. I'm leaving something out. I read Roman's new thing, Vanishing Act. I guess like from a few years ago.
I think I've just been getting drunk and playing Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I know. I'm doing that too. It's funny because it shows you on the Switch how long your friends have been playing Animal Crossing. What are you at? Like,
That's my favorite game.
are you at
Just
100
looking at people's
hours
play.
now?
I love it.
I'm close behind. I'm at like 90 hours still. So
I think I'm on like 160 or something.
yeah,
HTML Flowers is on 360 hours.
it's perfect.
That's mental, but
So where do you spend your time? Do you spend your time? I was having this conversation with my roommates. Do you focus on inside the house, or are you like an island landscaper, or do you just do everything?
island landscaper.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. No, I've pulled the Elijah Wood card and gone on Instagram and like, hey, if anyone wants to give me these like really rare items, I'll do a digital Banksy type drawing on your notice board. So I scammed a bunch of like cool statues and like the
That's so funny.
Stonehenge. And, yeah, I'm all about like.
Oh, I have. We were talking about call center earlier. I have a exercise ball for you. I need to give you that.
I've got one.
Oh, well then, it's done.
Yeah, I'm trying to make the Megan Mogg living room.
Yeah, I figured that.
I need a proper TV and I need a better table and like it's a bit.
Yeah, it's hard.
I can't get red curtains, so I don't know. I'm trying to do it. But yeah, no. The only comics I've read recently is Garos. So I didn't even read them because I can't read Japanese. But yeah, I was thinking when you was when it was my turn to say what comics I've been reading, I was like, I haven't read any. And I was like, no, I'm drunk, and I looked through some Garos. But yeah, my wife fell asleep on the couch, and I was just drunk, just like looking at the Garos, just fucking beautiful.
They're good, yeah. I ran out of I mean, like we said, it's a luxury item, so I only had so many lying around. So now I'm reading prose. I'm reading Roberto Bolaño's 2666, which I earlier joked about challenging myself with. So that's like 900 pages.
Classy motherfucker.
Yeah, he's my favorite writer. So I've never touched this one. I've read like 5 other things of his. So. Yeah,
well, now's the time to do it, I suppose.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I can't seem to focus on anything like that. I don't know. So I set myself up to work all day. I got to finish this. I've gotten. I've got to do another meeting after this with some like the Bellevue Arts Museum. I had a show like virtual gala. Like I have to do some Swedish Zoom. Like
nice.
Yeah. I need to finish. I've still got 8 panels to pencil in the inking.
God.
It's like
I guess we're running on a little while here. Should we?
An hour and a half. Yeah.
Should I let you get back to your drawing? I feel like I was just having a good time talking to you. I could just.
Me too. I mean, I could. I got to do this, I guess. And then I got to vacuum my rabbits tonight. So I wanted to read a book and relax. I wanted to lie in a beanbag and just read a book and like stare out the window because I have that luxury. I could. If I could just sit around wanking at the walls if I wanted to. But
I mean, I think that's what a lot of us have been doing. Yeah.
I'm doing this every day. I can't let myself. I don't know. I have a problem. I have a sick problem, Sammy.
At least you're able to monetize it.
Well, yeah, I'm probably going to do a book of it. I mean, I was going to do a zine, but now it's too thick for a zine even, so...
Right, yeah.
I mean, look, frankly, it's in the schedule already. Like, it'll be out in a year,
You've got the publishing rights all sorted out already.
I do. I actually do. That's what I do. I make books. So I was like, okay, it's probably going to run to about 100, 120 pages. Like,
right.
I want it to be a fuck because I love books. So fuck it. Let's just get it in the fucking schedule.
Okay, so if you're doing a page a month, that's like an extra 70 pages. So that's going to be like, it's going to go on for another couple months.
I'm going to be doing it for another couple of months.
That's sick. Oh, I'm so.
I was going to end it, but then I have my like notes. Like this is my original note sheet, which I've crossed a lot of stuff off, and
gorgeous.
I just write down ideas as I get them. Like, that'd be a good episode. So basically, all these are crossed off, and then I have all my extra notes, like other little things I think of,
nice.
And this is a basic structure. This is like probably like next week worth, the week after that, and
you got it pretty planned out. This is different from the free jazz improv.
I mean, some of this stuff is fucking weird. Like, this is a non-canon kind of Megan Mogg thing.
See, this is what I was wondering. Because it's like, if Mogg gets pregnant, is she going to have a kid? And then suddenly the kid's in the rest of the canon? So this is just an isolated story.
It's the COVID universe. That's
Oh,
right. It's,
okay.
it's an alternate reality. Because when Werewolf Jones is dead in 2017 in the Coven reality.
Yeah, that's true, isn't he? Yeah, but he's back.
I just wanted to put these characters together as a situation comedy and see what happened under Corona.
Right.
And have some fun with it. And, you know, I'm having fun.
Yeah, it's
I got some weird ideas for it. And we'll see what else happens.
Yeah.
You know, everything. It might get really like apocalyptic. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen?
I'm kind of hoping, yeah. As long as Al doesn't die.
No, I meant the real world.
Yeah.
Don't.
No, I'm not hoping for that kind of apocalypse.
Yeah, I want it to all blow over. I want to stop doing this. I just want to stop.
Yeah.
Are you going to do any more Corona comics, do you think? Or
Yeah, I'm working on one right now. It's basically like I was like, in the interest of public health, I've been sick for like 7 weeks. So I kind of was just like, in the interest of public health, I still need to go outside. So I'm just kind of going to try and rest until I get to a better spot. So now I'm kind of feeling like I'm okay. So I've got one in the pipeline already, and I've got a few ideas for the next few. So I'm going to keep going with that for a little bit.
You know, I'm going to guilt you about it. Like, they were the highlight of my day, Sammy. Every day that you don't do them pains my heart.
Yeah.
I get up, I have my coffee, I refresh Instagram. Like, Sammy hasn't my guiding light.
I'm going to have one in max 3 days. It's already in the process. It's in the pipeline. My promise to you, Simon.
It feels terrible to like be demanding work from people under these circumstances. Like, did you know Charlie XCX, the pop star? Do you know Charlie XCX, the pop star?
Yeah.
She's doing like this quarantine album, releasing it.
Right, I heard that.
I've been following her process, and it just seems difficult. Like, it's doing it publicly, and she was talking about like pushing other people to do it, like under these circumstances, to make video editors work, and like, you know, which is good to stay productive, but oof.
It's hard because in some ways the productivity kind of helps get my mind off everything else. It gives me something to do, so I'm not just wallowing in despair in my bed all day. But then on the other hand, it's like if you work too hard, then you're kind of screwing yourself in another way. So it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard with work-life balance. You know,
yeah, exactly. I've heard about that. I've heard about that balance.
Desk.
Yeah. Actually, I do. Oh, this is a good chance to show off my 6-foot drafting table. I'm so proud of.
Damn, that's professional.
Kijiji, ages ago. So.
Oh man, you are a pro. You have made it with that table.
I bought that for $100 on Craigslist or Kijiji or something, and I've had it for like, it's been with me through like 7 different apartments, which is a huge pain in the ass to move. So I feel like a real cartoonist when I'm sitting at the table.
Slant, yeah. I've never done it. I'm working on like a flat IKEA table right now. I've always worked flat. I feel like I need to feel like gravity is pressing me into the page.
That's funny. I mean, for me,
I just kind of, maybe it'd be good drawing on a slant.
It's good, actually. Like,
slide off the page.
I feel like I actually like stand probably 80% of the time when I'm doing the most complicated parts of the drawing. So it almost feels like I'm playing billiards. Like you can line up your shot.
I love that.
You align your whole body.
But do you have to like tape down the page? So
yeah, everything's taped down. I use like special painter's tape.
Because I spin my pages. I'm like a DJ.
I spin too. I just lift it. I just peel the tape every time and move it around.
Oh, peeling. Nah. See, I spin my pages around like a DJ. I'm like spinning it around, and then I got my long ruler, and I got like a little wieldy short half ruler. So I'm spinning it around like crazy.
I'm trying to find my parallel glider, which I love so dearly.
I use a lot of rulers, though. You know, I got to be spinning that page around.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do. What you got to do is you just got to lower the tack on the tape enough so that it sticks perfectly, but it's like you can just rip it right off without damaging the page.
That would, I mean, do you do lines and like, you know, you do all the that way lines and then you flip it and do all the that way lines? Or you do it
so like, that's the thing. I kind of mix. I probably only do 30% of my straight lines with a ruler. I do a lot of freehand.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like that works better for me. Then I can line it up and then, yeah.
You madman.
You can tell the difference if you look really close at some of the lines. They're a little bit wobbly, and some are completely straight.
Oh yeah. On this
Yeah.
banister.
Yeah, I like it because it gives it that kind of life of having that tiny variation, but then it also is mixing it in with that rigidity, so it looks like I'm more talented than I really am. It looks like I've done everything freehand.
Yeah, these live in my studio. I have a small selection of my favorite books. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, they do live in my studio.
hey, I mean, I've got every Megan Mog. For a while, I was trying to get every zine, and then I couldn't keep up with it. Like, but I do have some of the rarer. I still have my Werewolf Jones and Sons issue 1.
Ooh,
Yeah,
you could sell that to the Beguiling for like
that's
$40
what.
or so.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm ever on the streets, I'll know what to hawk first.
Yeah, I remember selling lots of comics in the past when I was like broke for like rent or booze money. Like,
Yeah.
Sold my signed Velvet Glove cast in iron hardback. Like,
Oh no.
I got a decent price for it though. The bookstore in Tasmania, they Googled. I was like, it's Dan Clowes. Like, Google him. This was like 2003 or something.
Yeah.
But they Googled him and like, okay, we'll give you $100 for that. And that was
That's
kind of
pretty good.
shocking, like the scummy secondhand bookstore, like to give.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's pretty good. I'm still sitting on my Kramer's Ergot 7. I'm hoping that will just keep appreciating in value.
Yeah, that and Kramer's 4. Yeah, they're gonna put my rabbits through college.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's like a euphemism for them dying. But anyway, that didn't work. Isn't that when people say with their pets going to college, that means the pets have died? Anyway, or they go upstate.
You're hoping to euthanize the rabbits with this money.
Yeah, it was yeah. That was a poor choice of words. Oh.
All being recorded. I'm just gonna remind you something.
Yeah, I hope they don't mind that it's an hour and 40 minutes of hot chat. This is movie length.
Yeah, it's good. I'm at this point, I'm assuming people will just have it on in the background and kind of be vibing, doing other stuff as we banter.
We need to edit a title like My Dinner with Alwani. We have some credits roll and stuff.
This is in podcast territory. We're doing a podcast right now.
Basically.
Yeah.
I think Grant and I are actually going to do a podcast. He got all excited and said, can we do a podcast?
This is prime time for podcasts. This is what I'm craving.
I just said, why not?
Yeah, do it.
I went on a podcast about relationships. Just some random guy said, we do a podcast about relationships. Would you like to come on? And we answer like questions from I was like, Loveline, like, cool. But it was really fun. And I'd filmed another Drink Studs, the energy drink podcast that I occasionally do with Rob McConnell. That's going to be fun. That's going to drop soon, maybe for the true fans.
That was another, because Robin was the one who got in touch to get my contact info for this. Speaking of dreams realized, because I've been listening to Inkstuds, like I probably was just sketching when I was like 18, listening to his interviews with like all the big ones, yeah.
Yeah, no, the first time I went on Inkstuds, it was like thrilling. I was like, I made it. Like,
yeah, this is the big time.
Yeah, I'd been listening for
years. Hey, Robin, if you want to invite me on, I'm here. I'm waiting.
Yeah, you are someone he should get.
Yeah.
You Doug Wright Award winner. Isn't the statue like a little bowler hat?
Yeah, I got it here. I'll show you. It's actually getting dusty.
Oh, yeah, I've got my... Oh, man, it's an actual bowler hat.
Yes, Seth himself placed it on my head. Oh, nice.
You can wear yours.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, fuck, that's cool.
I feel like I look like a Magritte painting.
Look, mine's falling apart.
Oh, man, they couldn't even... Well, if it's any consolation, they gave me a little plaque that has like a little knob to hang the hat on, and it doesn't work. Oh, God.
The tail just comes off.
It's like not even like a pop gun kind of quality toy.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very prestigious comics award, but it's just...
Yeah, it's one of the biggest in the world.
It's just falling apart. I wish it was a fucking hat.
Well, Nick Gazin was like giving me flack. He's like, they shouldn't give you something that could be susceptible to rotting or something like that. He was into the hat.
I wonder if Seth has one of those and he actually wears it around town when he goes out.
he designed the box that it came with. It came in like a luxurious specialty box with like a decal on it and everything.
That's pretty cool. He must have one then. I bet he wears it.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure he has like a whole closet full of hats.
In the McDonald's drive-through on his moped with his hat on.
One year when I was at the film festival, TIFF, I was on the 12th floor of this, like, the Scotiabank Theatre, which is this big theater in Toronto. And I remember looking out the window and seeing like a tiny little Seth like walking across the street, and he was instantly recognizable. It's like
little Seth.
Little Seth.
He cuts a striking figure.
Yeah, you can all the major Toronto cartoonists. You can spot them from a mile away. Like Chester Brown, I've run into a few times, and yeah, he's the only one with a skullet. Yeah.
Cartoonists have their style and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm actually like I was for a while. I was worried that I'm premature balding. Like I'm 8, and a lot of it's.
I'm worried about that too.
Yeah, but the thing is, I've realized that I'd be in really good company with Chris Fair, Dan Klaus, Charles Burns, Michael DeForge. We're all bald.
I think Klaus looks better bald, like with the beard. I think he looks really good.
He's got a very striking daddy silver fox look. I'm into it.
Charles is really rocking it as well.
Yeah, it's a good look.
I think Spiegelman's balding as well under his hat, isn't he? Under his Heisenberg hat.
I've never seen him without the hat, so I'm not sure.
I think I saw it blow off once at Tivoli Gardens.
He ran after it.
We were on the bumper boats, and the gust of wind blew.
He must have felt so exposed.
Dropped his e-cig in the pond where the bumper boats were. Fuck! I love the way he smokes everywhere. Like, I think he smokes on planes and just like puffs it down his shirt. Until they tell him off, he's just going to keep on smoking.
Yeah, I'm missing the act of smoking a weed cigarette. I gotta say, I was just talking with my friend about how therapeutic. It also triggers the deep breathing, which is great for anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've got my Amsterdam shag here, my tobacco nicotine
trademark.
I can't stop. I love them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel for you. But you think you've had like coronavirus for 7 weeks or what?
Well, like I was feeling kind of shitty for like a month. I called telehealth. I was not feeling that bad. It was like maybe a 3 out of 10 for any of my symptoms. And like, you need to go to the emergency room. So I went to the emergency room, and the nurse was like, we can't test you because we're reserving the test for people with like other conditions. Yeah, exactly. But she said, you probably have it. Stay home. Don't go outside at all.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've not been able to throw a cough now for like 8 weeks or something since my initial like
Yeah, you're probably
I'm smoking more, but
yeah,
I think pretty sure everyone's had it here in Seattle. I don't know.
I was wondering because I got my check from Fantagraphics for now, and then a week later I was like, oh, maybe this was a tainted Seattle.
Well, I mean, yeah, like Grant's not sending his book out. His book's out. Yeah. He sold them, and he's like, because of this, like, I'm not shipping books. There's a fear that it could live on services for 3 days. So I said, I sold it.
It's also trouble for him to go out and to put them into the post as well.
Well, totally.
Yeah.
Early March, I sold a book online, and I started saying, like, any immunocompromised people who are concerned about packages, let me know.
Yeah.
No one did. But
I've been lucky because I'm dating an immunologist who has a master's degree right now. So I've been getting a reliable story. Like, apparently the risk for packages is not super high. It's not 0, but it's not crazy. So people are safe.
I just wash my hands after I handle the packaging.
Yeah,
and just,
throw it out, put it in a closed bin, and then wash your hands. You should be fine.
Yeah. And I think I've already had it, so,
Yeah.
But, whenever I go out, all masks, all gloves. And I am shocked by the amount of people that are not. They're not.
Yeah,
when I go to the supermarket, everyone's pretty much wearing masks and gloves. And then there's a few people
just trying to fuck with everybody. Yeah.
And it's just like, I instantly just think, are you like a right-wing nut job? Like,
Simon, this is their freedom. You don't.
I mean, I get some people can't afford masks as well, and like maybe that could be a factor. But
You can craft your own cloth mask, which works just as well from preventing other people.
I see a lot of bandanas.
Yeah, exactly. Wear a bandana, wear a scarf, anything. It doesn't matter.
No, the people I'm seeing can clearly afford masks.
Yeah. I think they're just dicks. Is the bottom line.
Conspiracy theorists and just think it's not a thing. And
actually, like my brother is really into I had to like stop talking for a while because it's just like too stressful. He's like, this is the Bill Gates RFID chip is going to get injected into you with the vaccine. Like, this is a manufactured bioweapon. I was just like, okay, I can't.
Yeah. No, my mum has gone down that route. She's never been on the internet before, and she's just discovered on her. She has like, I've got like a hacked iPhone 4. She says, and I've got the internet on it. And I was like, oh God, have you? And now she's on the internet and she's getting into all these conspiracy theories. No!
Dangerous path. It's annoying. Like, I don't think it's a huge number of people, but they're just very, very loud. They just make their voices heard.
Yeah.
I wish, like, people who are actually informed are, like, timid and subdued. And the people who don't know anything are just, like, so ready to share their opinion.
Yeah, we just got to start, all the normal sort of, calm people need to get all caps, I suppose. And
exactly. I'm there. Like, I used to be like, oh, like the best way to connect with people and educate them is to be patient with them, meet them halfway, like let them talk. And now I'm just like, I have no patience. I'm going to tear into anybody.
But you still have to do it in an eloquent way.
I'm trying to make like
eloquent screaming.
Yeah.
Eloquent screaming, like banging the pots and pans and like, but also really well informed and eloquent.
Yeah, exactly. Like demonstrated in a very cogent way, like structured analysis of the situation. And then also, like, I'm going to kill you if you don't listen to me.
Stand there, you scream for a full 3 minutes, just screaming, and then you get a really cogent point. And you really
exactly, yeah.
And people are like, wow.
That's kind of like, that's the vibe of my comics in the first place. So,
roller coaster emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck. So you're not going out, you said earlier. You're really not leaving the house that much.
Well, so my symptoms are mostly gone.
Yeah.
From my immunologist partner has informed me that my viral load, if I have one, is not strong enough. There's a danger of transmitting. So I've started to venture back out because I was really going crazy. Yeah.
So you're out on like 10
I just had
getting some gelato.
Yeah, I actually been doing a lot of cooking and baking. I was joking with because Jack put me in touch with Alex Dubin. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name for a little interview thing. I was joking with him about how me and a friend of mine feel like we're like who is it? Kirsten Dunst in Melancholia. Like, we're so ready to handle this because we've been depressed our whole lives. And like when the Armageddon comes, like we're actually the ones who are best equipped to react.
Yeah. No, I've read a few articlettes about that. Like, anxious, depressed people are sort of getting on really well through this, and it's just
I'm just like, I've developed the coping strategies for getting through like paralyzing depression already. So it's like not like a new thing that's just happening to me now. So.
Yeah, and I am prepared to not leave the house. So, I have social anxiety. I don't really like leaving the house. Once I get out there, I'm usually okay. I can get on stage and like click into performance mode and talk to people when I have to. But I always fear it. So not leaving the house suits me fucking fine.
It's not that bad. The thing is, like, every day feels exactly the same to me. It's just,
It's just that ever more crushing anxiety of worrying about friends and seeing food declines and just worrying about food supply and huge unemployment figures. And it's the curse of empathy and imagining.
That's the thing. It's like, if I didn't give a shit about anybody but myself, then this would be so much easier to handle, right? It's like when you actually, like that's part of, I think for an artist it's kind of a gift, because it's like I pretty much can't stop thinking about the state of the world. Like I've always been upset about how everybody on this planet is basically exploited, and like human history is just like this terrible curse. So like for COVID to reveal that there's all this systemic inequality and now it's killing people, it's like I did already like brush on that.
Duh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you read a history book? Have you
Yeah,
seen?
exactly.
Have you seen
Yeah.
us? Have you looked in the mirror?
Yeah. Yeah. If you looked in the mirror, yeah. Have you looked down like and around at your environment at all? Like,
Yeah, no, there is that hope floating out there amongst certain circles, and that maybe things will be fixed. I saw something about Spain considering a UBI and stuff, and just it won't. I'm enough pessimist in addition to an optimist, so probably just get back to some sort of normal. I think humans are inherently greedy and self-involved and selfish enough of it.
That's a conversation I've had a lot of the time. My take on that is like we are all educated from birth to be greedy and selfish, and there's a gun, like society puts like a gun to your head and says the more greedy and selfish you are, the better you'll do and the more you'll succeed, and if less greedy and selfish you are, we'll physically kill you. Like,
it's in our best interest as a race to cooperate.
Like if we had a different system and people were educated in a different way to think about things differently, I don't think
I like that school of thinking. I mean,
that's
nice.
Yeah.
I just can't help but look at history and just see the horror and just the brutality of nature and just the perversity of the structures that we've built and language. And the internet, I think, is frying our fucking minds.
Yeah, especially now. It's like everybody's screen time has jumped up to like 13 hours a day now. So
I think humans, we peaked at like agrarian breakthroughs, like tilling the land, growing our own food, being self-sufficient, playing lutes, talking to your daughters. You lose a few through the winter, but and just that ideal of like living off the land, like that kind of soil, kind of like clean living, without any domestic violence or.
Like rescind those parts of the equation, but like keep the good stuff.
I don't know if we can ever truly be happy. I mean, obviously some of us pockets of happiness, but
I was just thinking that. I was talking with my friend. I was like, I remembered the other day, this week, thinking back to when I was like 16 and thinking, wow, like life is really hard and kind of sucks, but I'm sure it can't always be like this. Like eventually, like it'll get better. And then it just gets worse. It gets way worse.
You start losing friends too.
No,
Your parents die and you get sick and random things.
Yeah. And you never recover from the trauma of the previous incident before the next one happens, right? So it just piles on until you're a festering mass of wounds.
You distract yourself in the moment. You go down to the 7-Eleven, you get a hot dog, you watch Family Guy, you're trying to forget about everything, and you work your job at the chicken shack the next day and just fucking grind on. And
just trying to cry while you're serving customers. Like, it's bad for business.
I remember the horror of retail, like just having to pretend to be happy. It's so hard.
Yeah.
It really is. It's so difficult to drag your carcass into those
not fun.
Positive. And the unfairness of just like sales targets and just all the... It's so inhuman, the false positivity.
Yeah. I mean, it's really just like a mask on, just like having people serving you. It's just like, it's a very real class divide. You just want somebody under you to like take care of all your most like tiniest whims. So, yeah.
I'm glad this is my job now, being a cartoonist. I fear like losing this as a job. I hope I don't fire myself. Really, this is my,
so you're sustaining yourself entirely off of comics, which is a dream that not many cartoonists are able to realize.
Yeah, I do feel like one of the lucky ones.
That's great.
I don't know how I've managed it since 2013. I think I was saying earlier about Vice. So I think that gave me enough money to cover what I was getting from the government. At the time, I was in therapy and done the unemployment benefits. And,
Right.
But it's made me feel better. Like just I don't go to therapy anymore. Like, I think just being able to focus on this comic stuff and immerse myself in that, and that obliteration of everything else, and just the Zen focus has really helped me.
Yeah.
Keep
Well, it's also like a spot where you can work through all of those horrible things that happened to you in the past, and you can kind of come to a better place.
I mean, the work's incredibly therapeutic. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think Freud talks about like how once we replay our traumas, we have control over the situation. So it actually like helps us come to terms with what happened.
Yeah, I think it's the best therapy, really. You know, also I endorse real therapy by certified professional therapy.
Yeah, I would love. I mean, I would love some real therapy
myself.
Yeah, I mean, therapy is great. It also costs like a lot of money, so I don't see it being accessible to me for a little while.
So you still have a day job? You're still grinding?
Yeah, I'm still doing that. Well, I mean, they laid us all off. Luckily, Canada's socialist enough that we're all on the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, so I'm actually making more money being unemployed than I ever have in my life. I'm getting
my father-in-law had the same thing in LA.
Yeah, that's nice.
Job, and he's like, I'm going back to work now, but I made more on the unemployment.
Yeah, it's great. It works. And I'm like kind of angry at the American government. I mean, I'm like perpetually angry at the American government, like, especially now. It's like I saw a video from South Korea. The government's sending people boxes of food with inside, thanking them for staying inside. I'm like, get people to stay inside. Like, we just pay them so that they're not worried about their families starving and paying rent.
That does sound nice.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any of that here. But
yeah.
I think we're supposed to be getting the stimulus check or something. I kind of like, I don't need it really. So it's kind of like, hey, you know, I work and I make my money, I pay my taxes. And I was kind of like, well, I have to give it to someone else. I don't really need it. I'm not a citizen as well. I'm on a green card. I don't even know if I'm, eligible.
Required or eligible. I was gonna joke that that Owl spent his relief check on a Gurren Bros hat.
Yeah, I haven't bought that in yet.
It's like $150, isn't it, or $200 or something like that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I was going to try and work in something about the stimulus check type stuff.
Yeah, you gotta get it in there.
It's all gone off the rails. Yeah, no, fuck. So, what, you're looking for a job now, or once?
No, I think they're basically out of commission until things start back up, and then I'll be back there, I guess, after this CRB, that's for like 4 months, and then I'll probably get unemployment after that. And it couldn't be better timing in terms of working on my book, so I'm probably like stay at home and draw for a while, at least for a while until I have to go back to work. So
yeah, I just feel like I haven't taken a break. I'm just still working. But I hope this book sells at the end of it. Otherwise,
I'd be surprised if it didn't. It's like it is kind of like a false. It's like, oh, how much do the followers really equate to an income? But it does kind of build an audience eventually. Like, you get a few thousand people interested, and they all buy books. And
well, that's it. It's like with selling my zines. Like, I got books in like 13 languages around the world and stuff. Different royalty checks coming in. But I mean, like a Portuguese royalty check, it's like $300, or like I make a bit from Spain and France, but like not a lot. I mean, like 3,000 or something you'll get every like year, like maybe a bit more.
That's it.
France, like So someone's trying to call me from Portland. I think must be a fakey number. Some journalists were supposed to be calling me, but they're not from Portland. Anyway, so I was distracted.
Yeah.
What was I rambling about?
Money, checks from publishers.
Oh yeah, just self-publishing.
Self-publishing and followers.
Yeah, you got like 500 people who give a fuck about your work and will pony up a bit of money to like, thanks for the work. Here you go.
I think the thing that's cool with comics is because it's so altruistic, people kind of get into your voice. So they like they're kind of, they stick with you. It's not like
Yeah.
you drop off the map and then everybody completely forgets about you, because it is so much of a personal kind of endeavor that people kind of feel a camaraderie to what you're doing.
I'm just trying to do The Simpsons. I mean, like, I really am. Like, it's the
And
telling.
it's a winning formula. Simpsons succeeded for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, Seinfeld is The Simpsons. It's just, people come back for the characters, even if it's a bit shit sometimes. Hopefully they'll get through that and then maybe they'll get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird less people in comics are doing, like, characters. Like, when Meg and Mog sort of got successful, I thought, okay, we're going to see, like, people trying to do that, funny animal kind of,
they did kind of get some traction. A lot of people were doing funny animals for a second.
Yeah, but it kind of dropped off. I feel like there's no competition or...
Yeah.
Lauren Mongo was doing really good stuff. Like Clementine.
This stuff was great. Yeah.
But she kind of disappeared, fell off the map. And
one of many...
I'm sure there's stuff I don't know of, or things that exist, different, comics are so fractured in a way, different umbrellas.
Right.
Different, like black metal.
It's kind of funny because the scene is so small, but at the same time, it encompasses so many different, like, little tiny schools of thought amongst all these different cliques around the world. Self-referential, like, you get the same vibe floating through a few artists, and then kind of runs this course, and then a new thing kind of gets hot.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to be hot next. Well, what's hot now? I mean, it's like YA and, I don't know, poetry type comics.
I was going to say, like, I feel like the alt scene is very experimental, like way more than it was before. Like, it's non-narrative, and, like, people are not worried about, like, storytelling as much, which is...
they're not concerned with being entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, like, I kind of want to give the audience a bit more than that. I respect that work and I enjoy it, but it's also...
Yeah, me too, like...
Yeah, the way I want to work, I think I see in your stuff as well, is like there's a continuous narrative that is accessible and legible, and can actually engage with, like, characters that they see are real and, like, have some resemblance to their daily lives.
Yeah, I'm just trying to entertain people, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, the work I'm generally drawn to is quite experimental, and it's like the Lagon stuff, like something goofy.
Yeah.
What was the last one? The weird one.
No,
there's not a lot of narrative in there, but I love it. It's just the aesthetics of it and the experimentation, and it's just.
Yeah, I mean, some of my favorite, like Noel's Spine is there. He's definitely one of my favorites right now. Marvel stuff, one of my favorites, and super off the wall, like not super structured. So, but I can enjoy that and then do something of my own, I feel like, too.
Yeah, I just have to entertain people. I don't know. I need there to be a story. I just, I don't know. I've often wanted to do some more experimental stuff recently, just like, but I just feel like a wanker, like I was just doing like poetry or something, or.
I'm just doing poetry. That's my whole thing.
I have a tendency to lean into flowery, pretentious kind of shit when I try and write. I don't know.
I started off thinking I was going to write fiction for a long time, like since I was a kid up until I didn't start drawing until I was 20. And for me, like the writing has always been like had more primacy for me than anything else. Like it's definitely writing first and then.
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole package with comics for me. But yeah, when the writing comes first, it's probably the bit I enjoy the most. It's my own personal drama club. I feel like a thespian. The characters battle in my mind, writing dialogue. And
do you engage in the popular practice of like taking a selfie with the expression of your character and then working from it?
No, I don't. I think I've done that like once or twice. I remember like years ago, like but no, I just
have a folder. Actually, what I do now is I've got like a little mirror in the side of my room, so I can actually just like if I want to know what my hand looks like in a certain position, I kind of just like arrange it the way I want people to see it, and then I know.
Yeah, I do a bit of hand modeling, but I try. Yeah. Fuck. If the hand's badly drawn, I don't give a shit. Really.
Fair.
People are just barreling through the panels with my shit.
Yeah.
Like they don't care if there's a slightly badly drawn hand.
Yeah, fair.
I used to take all the photo booth pictures of me, like like that, and Yeah, I was looking at an old comic. It was a non-Megan Mogg comic, some sci-fi thing I did like 10 years ago. But you could really see that some panels had like the sculpted clothing and like
photorealistic.
and other ones were just like drawn like shit, like bad anatomy. And I was like, why did they pick one or the other, Hanselmann? Like,
I mean, for me, it's like I feel like people are probably reading my stuff and barreling through it in the same way. It's just like I have like an obsessive compulsive disorder that I have to like do every panel like in the exact same level of efficacy.
Yeah, and your stuff flows. I mean, you just have that flowing pacing, like it. It's not bogged down by extraneous text.
Right.
Expensive place, so it reads fluidly, like a film. It's like you can easily, smoothly roll through it, which is generally my favorite school of comics. So just a very immersive, well-paced story. I like Asterix and
like Tintin, a Hergé school.
Yeah, I liked Peter Bag's Hate back in the day. I mean, that was just a cartoon, basically. That was just, The Simpsons, but, edgy and weird.
Right.
In it. And I was reading that when I was like 13. So, I mean, to me, it was like an insight into what, the older kids were doing.
Right.
I loved it. I feel like Megan Mogg's just a rip-off of, like, old 90s Peter Bag. But with nice and more dildo jokes.
Your influences. Like, for me, like, your stuff definitely is a big influence on what I'm doing. But no, for real. It's like, but I don't ever, like, when I'm working, I don't want anything I'm doing to look too much like anybody else's. I kind of just want it to appear that, like, nobody's ever seen this before. So
you've got your own shit going on. You have, hot
I try to take from, like, 1,000 different sources, just like a splinter. Like, I'll actually plagiarize, like, single sentences from other sources. Like, but be like some Roland Barthes obscure essay in some collection that was like barely published, or like, some other piece from some comic from the 60s manga thing, or like some film,
Sampling like a DJ.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's like 40% sampling, and then I kind of fill in the blanks to my own postmodern structure.
Yes, I enjoy the playfulness of different style, ticks, and your coloring. You're breaking the digital.
Yeah.
I haven't done that yet.
I'm finding digital, like, I was so against it, and I'm kind of liking how easy it is. It's kind of like, it feels like cheating. It's like I don't have to, when I'm inking, it's like if I fuck up this line, then I just have to start the whole page over. Like, I'm so anxious about it, and it's like so much pressure. Like I like will prepare for like a day before I ink. Just whereas with the computer, I can just be like, no. Oh, this line looks good. This is what I want to keep.
Yeah, I think it'd be great for editing and stuff, and like a lot of people use it for speed and quickness.
Yeah, that's why I thought it would work for this COVID comic, because I wanted something low stress.
Yeah, but I mean, the reason one of the reasons I really like making physical artwork and like traditional on a bit of paper and watercolor and is selling artwork. So I've made some art sales recently, some original pages and stuff, and I don't need to work for a while. I
nice.
Gouache and I think when you're limiting yourself to just digital, there's no physical product, or there's no physical piece.
Yeah. I mean, for me, there's like a more, like, also, I'm into that, and there's also just like a more of a feeling of communion with like the materials you're working with. It just feels like more direct, and like I also don't find I can get as nice a line digital. Like a lot of my stuff is very linear, and very specific. So
you are just cutting. Like if you do all digital as an artist, you are cutting off a future lucrative.
Yeah, that's true.
As an artist, like everyone's complaining about trying to make work as an artist, and themselves, and that's part of like once you get to a certain level in your career, you can fucking, people want to buy your originals.
Yeah.
There's originals
well, actually, like with my own process, I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot, because it's taking all of the time to do something traditional, but then I have it on 2 separate drawings, so nobody's actually seeing the finished work. In print.
That's fun. You can, the process pieces.
The process drawings.
That's a beautiful piece. It'd be a great thing to have. But,
yeah.
I mean, this is all money talk, and like playing the art market, which I feel. I have like young fans write to me like, hey, I live in a share house, I'm a skateboarder, my girlfriend really likes your comics, and I really want to like buy a piece for her birthday. Here's the price list, here's the PDF.
You're like, but you can't afford it.
It's like I just got back from Paris and I'm sucking up to, art collector women with hexagonal glasses and, eating.
Yeah, like you got to pay for that Moncler jacket. Like,
well, yeah, I've had numerous art dealers and, worked through the fucking scene and played the game and,
right.
If you can make money from your work, why not? There's nothing wrong with it.
It's true.
But it's an eternal struggle. It's the art world. It's, the art world. But anyway, I taught a class on watercoloring at VanCAF last year.
Oh, cool.
I opened my class by smashing.
I would like to attend your class. Like, your fills are so tight.
I smashed a Wacom tablet over my knee to open the class. And I cut myself on it, so I was bleeding throughout the whole class.
It's true art.
And mostly I did ramble about the art scene and just like I just was saying, like, you've got to keep your artwork because you can sell
That's
it to
so funny. Did you incorporate the blood into the watercolor?
Yeah, I made some jokes about constantly all over the page, yeah. I hope Izzy from VanCAF was happy with that class. I was supposed to go first as well, but this other guy went first, and he was kind of like a nice guy and just did like a nice presentation on digital coloring. Yeah. And then I had to come on and like, I'm smashing a Wacom tablet, fuck it. Watercolors, crazy food coloring, old man Hanselmann, old food coloring. It's gone all sulfurous. Yeah, no, my workshops are weird. I did one for Short Run in Seattle a few months ago, and I had like a big curtain. So I came out of the curtain, and it was like Simon Hanselmann behind the curtain, like, come on in and see.
That's so funny.
I like to have some theatrics. I like, there was a piano on site, so I incorporated the piano at one point.
Right.
You got to put on a show. You got to dazzle them.
Yeah, this is what I'm learning. I was like, at first I was worried about, because like my comics are pretty out there. I was like, what is my public image like? Do people think I'm just insane? And then I'm realizing that like I can actually sell that. Like people like how quirky that is. So I'm kind of trying to push it even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's personal branding.
Yeah, exactly. It's brand.
Oh, it's strange.
Yeah.
I remember I used to post so many selfies and stuff. I'm just averse to that now. I don't know. I just like I just want to post artwork. I don't want. I used to get excited about interviews. I used to like post them. Like, oh, I did a new interview.
Yeah.
Now I just, oh no.
No, get away from me.
I just wince. I can't listen to my voice. I can't read interviews. It used to be so exciting. I feel so self-conscious about that stuff. It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck. Good luck, kid.
Thank you. That's my goal.
I'm 38, so yeah. Good luck with the next decade.
I got 10 years, to reach the same peaks that you have.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk to you for another 10 years.
Oh, no.
10 years.
I need the encouragement.
No, you cut off. As soon as this call ends, we're not talking for 10 years. And God, I don't know where I'll be.
I'm going to be banging. I'm going to be sliding in your DMs like every night then, as soon as you say
I'm going to block you, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Even better.
Yeah, 10 years, you'll be living in a sort of comfortable sort of, house in a sort of, not a great
middle class.
Okay. You'll be renting, you'll have 7 rabbits, you'll have a partner, you'll be married, you'll be...
Thank God. That's what I'm praying for, honestly. It's tough finding the power. You're lucky. You're in a power couple right now.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, no, we get on well. We have our rabbit passion and our rabbit dungeon, take care of our rabbits. No, it is really nice having someone we've got on fine throughout this whole coronavirus thing. Like we've just gotten on fine.
That's great. Yeah, I heard that as things were lifting in China, the divorce rate skyrocketed because everybody was sick of being with their partner.
Imagine Italian families all stuck together.
Yeah, that'd be horrifying.
All the plates getting smashed and stuff.
Like 5-7 people in one house.
Yeah, spaghetti food fights. Crazy stuff. Yeah, no, I'm very lucky. Wow, we've gotten on really great.
Yeah. Do you mind if I take a quick break, or I just
Yeah. I think the call I was getting before was this museum calling me. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, does this time still work for you? We've gone long. I said, I've
Yeah,
gone long.
maybe we should.
Alwani, I'm sorry. He's a pig
That's
skin
pretty
Peter.
good, though.
He's got a hat.
I feel like they're just gonna like pare it down. They're just gonna cut half of this anyway. So
Yeah, I wondered that. Is it a full feed or do they cut it? But I hope
yeah, I don't know. They'll edit it down to the most interesting parts, or just make us look like terrible folks. They'll just take all the hottest takes of the session and then just string those together so we look awful.
I'm sure they're going to cut some stuff. Otherwise, they probably can't run it.
Yeah, exactly.
A couple of weirdos. You actually said everyone go like, I'll run it through an algorithm and it'll just get flagged with all these bad.
Yeah, and it's just like my only defense will be like, but that's my brand. You guys don't get it. This is what I need to say.
Yeah, it's transgressive, progressive.
Yeah, exactly. Oh wow, what a nice term you just coined. I like that.
It's ContraPoints. It's yeah, I didn't dress up. I wanted to get all glammed up. I
got a tie on. I was gonna make a joke that I thought I was logging into my OnlyFans and like I'm naked under this.
I'm assuming you're not wearing pants though. Are you actually wearing? Yeah, I saw you get up before you are wearing pants.
Yeah, I am wearing pants. Yeah, I'm not even joking. I was gonna say I'm wearing my Andrew Christian jockstrap and that's it.
I wish there was a cat eating its own asshole in the background. See that viral clip? Some newsman in the background was like a tabby cat on a shelf.
Oh my god, I love it.
Snacking.
I do like that we both have our closets in the background.
Yeah.
That's a cute touch.
Well, that's a free hanging hanger, not a closet. That's an optical illusion.
Oh, okay, fair.
Tricked you into thinking it's a closet.
Or our wardrobe is exposed anyway.
What can you see? I didn't even set it up or anything.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about my painting. I hope they're not like too upset that I've got some pornographic content.
That's what that is.
Oh shit, that's amazing. Oh wow. Oh, no, they can't run this. It's porn.
No, it's like, they're just gonna go into After Effects and kind of like green screen it out.
So, what's your take on Jordan Peterson? No.
He's the star of Toronto. This is where he's based.
Oh, Jesus. No, we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah, I guess it's into Jordan Peterson territory.
Stop recording.
Please.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, I should go and take this
Okay.
call.
Yeah, this was good. I was glad to. I've been wanting to hang out, so this was a good.
What? Oh, Jack's popped in.
Oh, okay.
No, we've been chin wagging for ages. So.
You're not recording.
Yes, we just finished recording. Yes, Jack.
It's
Now that you're not recording anymore,
Jack's busted in.
I can say hi.
Hey, okay, I'm gonna click stop recording because it is still recording.
Oh, he's still recording.
It's still recording. So bye everyone. Thank you for tuning in.
Oh. Probably.
Can you edit that? Let's do it again.